Yo, party people in the place to be was good. It's your man's the number one chief rocker, Uncle Freezy. What's happening? Today we are gonna break down this movie called Juice. I put the bat signal up for the guys, so I expect some of the guys to come through and hang out with us. But before we do that, I want to get into this thing about why it's important to break down juice. One Yeah, I know the Lawrence Tears logo was up, but yeah. So I'm looking for the site. I'm looking for the IMDb. DSJ, how you doing, brethren?
Hey, what's going on, Unc? How you feeling?
I'm okay.
Well, salute to you and salute to everybody in the chat as well.
Salute to everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the R&B sensation DSJ in the building.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. I got nothing but love. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. What's good, man? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good?
I'm all right. I'm all right.
All
Yeah,
right. All
man.
right.
I definitely wanted to get into this conversation. Um, one of uh one of the classics in black cinema.
Right. 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 Right.
Weirdly enough, though, how is it a? It's crazy that it's a black classic, right?
Okay.
With amateur actors.
Very, very amateur actors. Very, very, very. And I I watched it again this morning with some grit. I had some grits and eggs and cheese, man, some sausage, some everything, man, and watched Juice. Right, had some sugar free, one of them sugar free fruit drinks. The ones that come in the big fancy looking container. Had that.
Salute, salute.
Salute
Salute, BT.
and and man watched Juice. And my thing while watching is the first thing comes to my mind is the soundtrack better than the movie?
Oof.
That
You mean
that's what
as I was gonna say as far as acting in the movie or the
no,
story?
the music, the motion picture soundtrack.
Yeah,
Is
but
that
when you
is
say
that
is it
better?
you
Huh?
saying it's better than the movie, I'm asking you mean the story or you're talking about the acting in the movie?
No, the entire thing, the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm talking about the whole thing. Robert Paul's in the building. What's good, boss? So DSJ, that's when I heard Uptown Anthem, right? When I heard Uptown Anthem, I was thinking like, okay, this right here might be might be this soundtrack might be better than the movie. And the reason why I said that is because 1992 was a very good year for music.
Oh yeah.
A man. You got Vinia Mojica. You got um Tammy Lucas. You got Tony Braxton. You got Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston. Oh
Pump
my
it up.
goodness. Oh my goodness.
Well, here's the thing, right? I think there are certain movies where the soundtrack can be better than the movie, and of course, where the movie is better than the soundtrack.
Right.
And there's always that it's always one of those movies that everything is just a perfect marriage.
Right.
I think in this case, this one is the perfect marriage.
Okay.
It
Can
gave
you?
you
Oh, I'm sorry.
no. I was gonna explain. I was gonna elaborate. I think with this one, it came down to the music of the age, especially because if you consider what the movie was, it was a coming of age story that involved the creation of music in the eyes of Q.
Right.
So he's, in terms of being a musician, carving his own niche of what he thinks the music should sound like.
Right.
And so things like going into the record shop, things
Right.
like him being at the turntables until God o'clock in the morning,
Right.
with his mother waking him up to the past residue of what he created.
Right.
It's, in terms of that, it's like everything had a setup.
Right.
The scene when he's going to see Bishop,
Right. Which one?
the final scene.
Okay.
I know, what I'm saying, you want to dissect the movie, and this conversation kind of jumps around it, but it's only in terms of setting up the conversation of the soundtrack. Um, I think every single scene playing the music
Salute, Dre.
Salute.
was the perfect complement to the scene itself.
Right.
So in my eyes, like, that was the perfect marriage of it all. Um, just in terms of, I don't think the soundtrack was better than the movie, but I don't think the movie was better than the soundtrack. I think it was just a perfect hand in hand situation. It fit like a hand
Okay.
in glove under those circumstances.
Okay.
I agree with you, DSJ, because I was gonna say the music actually kept you in the time and it made you go back to remember what it was like growing up in the streets, running from the truancy officers at school when they were jumping from building to building. You know how everything integrated into hip hop and how it was still fresh, and the fact that they captured great music to keep up with the actual time. No matter how many times you watch it or when you watch it, it brings you back to that moment. So for me, the music with the movie is actually great. And at certain scenes, you will see something going down, and then the music in the background amplifies it. Like, oh yeah, I remember this, and it kind of helped out. Like Queen Latifah, like that whole scene, like meeting her and then seeing how she was and seeing how it is in line with DJs trying to set up. Like, I'm sorry, I know I'm jumping too, but I think everything was perfect at the right time, at the right mix. It just was low key that unless you knew, you wasn't gonna like the movie.
Right. Right. Dre, what's good, boss?
I'm chilling. I'm soaking in this conversation. I was listening earlier. I just couldn't get a chance to get on,
Okay.
and I was the acknowledgement that you put on for the the soundtrack for the film. Yeah, it's pretty spot on in terms of, like, I know I was never alive well, I was alive at that point, but I was never old enough to experience the music in its heyday.
Okay.
But it puts you in a perfect, like, mind state because of the tempo and the pacing of the movie. The music itself would change based on the tempo of what's happening. It might be like a crescendo or decrescendo in terms of pacing, and and I appreciated just the aspect because when you talk about like hip hop being a culture, it's not just music. That's Juice is
Right.
part of said culture.
Right.
Pieces of art like that are part of said culture. But
Right.
yeah, I wanted to let y'all continue.
Okay. 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 I have I have a question. Soulfinger, what's good, brother?
What's happening, fellas?
Man, it's good to see you, boss.
Good evening, Soulfinger.
What's happening? What's happening, man? Look, I was running through traffic, man, like Mad Max, Road Warrior, trying to get up over
R-
here.
Road Warrior. Right. Right. Man, I have a bunch of questions that I want to ask you guys, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on a sheet and then post them on the screen so that everybody can see them. And that, but because what I didn't want to drive the conversation, um, um, so I'm retyping it now. But what I want to ask y'all is this: my first question, while I work on that to display on the screen, let me first ask y'all this: how good is the story? How good is the story, Juice? Four kids
I
from Harlem trying to find their way. How good do you think this story is?
it was to the script, like real life, real stuff that people had to go through, like dealing with the other Spanish cat that um Bishop had to deal with, dealing with
Radamez.
Rodimus.
yeah, Rodimus, dealing with a kid that was bullying him, and then the situation when after, I don't want to jump into the movie too detailed, but dealing with him, dealing with running from the truancy officers, because I remember those days, like everything was accurate towards the '90s era, to where the storyline, even though it was a little stretch, it was basically true. So I remember running, like I said, running on top of the rooftops, chilling with my cousins and family. I remember listening to DJ tapes on a big old jukebox. I remember playing basketball. I remember dudes trying to holler at chicks, staying with this main girl, doing this. I remember all of that, running through different apartments. So for me, the story was raw because it was real life, but the fantasy of it wasn't too far fetched to where it was make believe. So I think the storyline was actually on point.
Okay. All right. So okay. So what are y'all thinking?
Well, I mean, um it's not Stand by Me, right?
No.
And,
No.
I, and I'm saying, of course, I'm saying that to be a bit of a troll, DSJ the troll, and clearly BT the truant. But what but
I
what I would
like
like to
that.
do, but what I think in terms of the situation, it was the perfect story for New York City in that time, in
Okay.
terms of what it represented for teenagers, right? Because a lot of them obviously could relate. How many teenage gangs existed in that time frame? And shout out to Omar Epps and a lot of the guys that were basically given the green light to improvise. Because fun fact, right? The original writer, Mr. Dickinson, he wrote that movie way back in the 70s,
Right.
70s, early 80s.
Right.
So the dialogue and the actual scripting, what was given to them is different from what they gave to you on screen.
Right.
So a lot, and it's funny, and I'm referencing. I have to reference my expert opinion because that's the where I got that information from. Omar Epps being a guest on that show and having that conversation with them about Juice.
Okay.
Um, so he was saying, like, the movie had been written years ago, decades ago,
Right.
but just to be able to bring it to life at that point in time, a lot of it had to be changed up to make it make sense for that era, that generation. Um, so you're not gonna, walk around and, I don't know how much you could deliver the line of, "Shut up, Steele," being, "Hey, I need you to be quiet, Jack." Like, we're not gonna hear that in the '90s.
Right. Okay.
So for him to be able to change it up and, see the nuance of the culture. Again, one of the greatest. It's one of the great stories of that era for us in that city. Now, people relate to it in terms of the inner city, um, and all the things that came along with it, the hopelessness that existed, the dreamer that Q was, his goal being a well-renowned DJ. Um, Unfortunately, the trauma that existed within Bishop, the existing in the world and trying to grow up to, from going from boys to man, with Raheem, and of course just the, again, the where do I fit in aspect that came with Steel. So
Right.
I think with all of those things involved, it was a great coming to age story for them, and I think they told it masterfully under those circumstances.
Really? All right. All right. So, yo, look who in the place to be. Yo, it's my man's.
The super producer Chuck Allen.
Yeah, man. Y'all put some
Salute, Mr.
fire.
Allen.
Y'all put some fire in the chat, man, for our homeboy, man, the most talented producer. You know what I'm saying around here, Mr. Chuck Allen. Chuck, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. How y'all doing this evening?
Man, I'm good, man. It's good to see you. I kind of perked up, man. I'm sorry about blinking off screen. What happened is it's bad time for the dogs, so we just watched Benny, and Gaston came in here and hid behind my chair because he didn't want Miss Mocha to wash him up. So that's why y'all saw me looking around all crazy. It's because Gaston was like, "Hey," Gaston was like, "Hey, that chocolate lady is chasing me." You know what I'm saying?
He
This
like,
is what he
mommy
said.
after me. He like,
Yeah.
mommy after me. Hide me, dad. Hide
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, that chocolate lady after me, bro. I think she gonna do something to me. Oh yeah, you gonna get it, Gaston. That's what I was looking at, right? So my bad if I look distracted, y'all. My bad. But it's such as life. But did everybody get the chance to speak their mind on the story of Juice? I heard
Me and
DSJ. DSJ went
went.
went in on it, bro. So Chuck, how did you like Juice?
I thought Juice was I thought it was a really good. It was a different coming of age tale. Uh, it wasn't Stand by Me.
Right.
It was way more raw. Typical hood dynamic in the early '90s. Um, there was definitely certain parts of the film that I absolutely related to, and I remember um, running from truancy because you were
Right.
skipping school that day. Uh, but overall, I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was at one point in my life, I thought it was completely overrated.
Okay.
Um, but going back and watching with adult eyes, I see a deeper meaning, more understanding for the characters. Um, because for a while I was just like, yeah, man, everybody's just hyping this film because the Tupac that we know is kind of like born through the character in this film. But there are a lot of dynamics that are going on. I don't want to touch on anything that y'all haven't gotten to yet, but that was a cast of characters. The
Right. Right.
I'm not sure where y'all at. Like what y'all discussed
So
already.
we just got started. So we just did introductions to each other, and we just started talking about the movie. So I didn't give my take on the movie yet. I don't think Soulfinger gave his take on the movie yet. I don't know if Dre did either. So
I didn't get to the actual story or anything.
Okay.
I thought this was like a little bit of an intro. I was just listening to what you
Right,
guys
right.
were talking about. But yeah.
Right. 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 So how did you feel about the story?
Well, me in particular, it was something that caught me off guard because I saw it as a teenager. Then I revisited it as an adult.
Right.
So with like as Chuck Allen said, like with adult eyes, you view the story and the themes a little bit differently
Okay.
because as a child, you kind of just don't really know context and the dynamics and relationships and growing up with people and how people change over time. But but the film itself shows that no matter if you come from the same circumstance as someone else, people develop and grow in different ways. And some
Yeah.
people just end up being sociopaths
Right.
or what have you, or narcissists, and there's nothing you can do to change that. It's either
Right.
just in you or and then there's also something to be said about how said environment can change you itself and people can just go to a wayward path that you never foresaw them doing.
Right.
I remember like multiple parts in the film where Tupac's character Bishop would explicitly state over and over that he is this type of person and nobody would believe him until
Right.
it was too late.
Right.
Over and over he would just state, I wanted to do this,
Right.
and no one would believe him until he actually did it.
Right.
It,
Right.
it I don't know of any. We don't know any murderers. I hope not, but
Right.
we know people who are, I'd say, what's the word that I'm looking for? That like are super reactionary, knee jerk, and do things off of impulse. You
Right.
can't stop them from doing it,
Right.
even if it's to the detriment of themselves or others. They just go into a spiral and they just do it without even thinking.
Right.
I think the movie itself was pretty good. The only thing that I don't like about the film is the ending where it's like you got the juice. That's
Yeah, it was
like,
so trash. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like you could have gave me a better ending than that, but it
Yeah.
Man,
is
what
what
the,
it is.
Dre, that was an Oscar-winning performance at the end.
You know what? You know what? What? Oh, so Finger, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Hey, listen. I very much hate this movie, bro. I honestly believe Juice. I think I spent 6 hours of my life watching Juice. I think I watched this movie like 4 times, and every time I watch it, it gets worse and worse. To me, there is an element of the inner city that is familiar, but then there are parts where there are so many gaps, right? There are so many, for instance, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong, man. Yeah, I know y'all do. Y'all don't care if I'm wrong. I know y'all tell me, man. I'm used to it. For instance, how did Q and the nurse get together, and why was it important that she was in the movie?
They had to show a strong, dominant woman, a black woman that ain't gonna take no smack.
but
That's
that
what it was
wasn't really like a theme in the early '90s. At
Yeah.
least I don't think so. And then she had a husband, but he was like a teenager. It's
Yeah,
and then he's in there sitting there talking to the husband like.
yeah.
I guess that's before you could lock up women for dealing with underage
Yes, it is.
men
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But no,
yo,
I think what it is though, and this is just my perspective of it. I think it was important to showcase that Q was also a ladies' man
Yeah, I was gonna
because
say
I
that.
think the emphasis on Raheem being a ladies' man, and I don't think people realize that there was a friendly competition between Q and Raheem the entire time. From the
right.
opening scene when you dealt with Raheem's baby mother,
His baby mother. Yeah, yeah.
And the
and the
record
first thing
store.
that they did was talk about how Raheem was like, "Well, I should let you have that," and then Q was like, "Nah, remember, I let you have that."
Right, right.
Right? Then skip to the scene when they link up with the as far as the Blizzard scene when they're
Yeah,
about to go in for cigarettes.
yeah.
Why do I have to go in the store? Why do I have to go get it? Because it's your turn. So as he's handing him the money, here comes this fly honey that walks by.
Right.
Raheem immediately is like, oh no, well forget this. I'm about to go get that cigarette. But you already handed that money to Q, and Q
Right.
already got the same mentality going forward.
Right.
And so what I thought about in terms of that was one, because of the fact that this is a coming of age and every teenager wants to be an adult before their adulthood hits, right? They
Right,
want
right.
all the amenities of adulthood without the responsibilities. I thought immediately of Q probably approached to in terms of wanting to be the older, attractive man in his mind. She wants to reserve her youth, although she's already in a relationship that's failing clearly
Right.
with a guy that's either career driven or whatever the circumstances of his dynamic in the movie. He wasn't what she wanted anymore. She wanted younger.
Right.
And I think I think that was for me part of why that dynamic had to be told. You had to showcase that Q was not just there.
DSJ,
You know what I'm
let me
saying?
say this, bro. When I saw her, so first of all, I think the only reason why she's in the movie is because she is Cindy from In Vogue.
From In
And,
Vogue.
and In Vogue was hot as fish grease when this movie was being made.
So they had to make some character to get it.
They pushed, I think they wedged her in there.
Well,
And
you
she
know
was
what I'm saying?
already older, so it
Yeah.
would just
It-
they had to. I don't know.
see,
They had to
see,
make
I
something.
I looked at it like this. All right, first of all, that was showing that was one of the first times you started seeing the cougar dynamic in a movie. You know, really come out low key. If you think of it, it was low key, the cougar situation.
Okay.
Her husband was older. You tell he was older than her.
Right.
So she was tired of dealing with this old man that wanted to do this and control, and now she got a young cat that she figured she could, have a fun because she's getting through a divorce. So, hey, it's one of those. I get with this young cat who want to jump up and down on me like a trampoline, so you can get your thing in or whatnot. So, and then when you figure in, look at how you and really they just she was kind of shoehorned into the movie,
Yeah.
along with special ed's scene.
Yeah.
Because with the baby mom situation, now you see, he's the youngest in charge rolling the Jetta. At that time, Jettas was the ride, right?
Jettas was right. Yeah, that was
Jetta
the
And
was
I
the
thought that
ride.
was your girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was all that they just kind of like it was kind of mashed in to it. So I appreciate it when I first saw it at the age I was 20 in my 20s. So looking at it in my 20s, vice looking at it in my now that I'm 50 and frisky, you can see
Right.
totally different dynamics. I'm not gonna lie, some of the acting wasn't the greatest.
Oh, what?
Yeah, some of the acting wasn't the greatest. We know that.
Queen Latifah acting? Oh God.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
early Latifah when she would, you could tell those lines were forced.
Right.
But the overall premise, because there was so much going into the movie. Now, considering I'm the only cat on the panel that's not from the city, I got to see it from a different way because even though we didn't have to deal with truant officers and things, we still it was a lot of things I could relate to from the movie back at the crib, back in the booth. The running from the cops. Yeah, it was basically the best way to put it. Ghetto Boys had a song about this here. The world is a ghetto.
Yep.
So it was a lot of the things that went on in this movie it goes on. It went around any black hood USA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But but some of the, like you said, some of the characters was kind of like thrown in there. I mean, like case in point, if you look at it, Tretch, you remember Tretch was one of the goons in the movie.
Yeah.
You were supposed to play
and-
Pac's part.
In the Spanish gang, Tretch was in the Spanish gang.
Yeah.
He's
Trust was
Hey, you could be
Dominican.
black Spanish, bro.
Yeah,
You could be Cuban.
There was like a mini cameo of like Donald Faison in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
He was yeah.
You want to see me after school, punk? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Ron, what's good, man?
Hey man, can't complain. Everything good. Shout out to Dre, DSJ, Soulfinger, Brian Townsend, my man Chuck Allen, and the one and only Uncle Breezy. What's up, y'all?
Yeah, chilling, man. So I'm outnumbered on the panel. I think 5-1. I think. Thank you.
Nah, I'm
I
not.
think.
I'm
I
not
think.
saying you wrong. I'm not saying you wrong. I'm
I think
saying like
Juice is. I think Juice is a terrible
But you gotta understand though,
movie.
when you saw it, you probably saw it with as an older cat with a
No,
mind
no,
behind
No,
belief.
no,
no,
no, no. He saw it
no, no,
in his
no. I
head, in
took
his swing.
I took a lady to go. I paid, man. Listen, I paid
$5.20.
$8.50. Me and my
Yeah, that
girl
was
went to go see that. $8.50. That's what it
yeah.
cost to get into the movie. Two
A
people.
piece?
No,
Not together.
Nah,
four
man,
twenty
back
Oh
five.
Together.
then
my
you could
God.
back then it was like
Back then,
$3.50 to go see a movie,
Oh my
man.
God.
Yeah,
You
What
that
could
was in
pay
had
20. Hey,
$10 to
look.
get popcorn and a soda with that, man, for two.
oh
Yeah.
man, $20 had you living like a king back in the
Hell yeah.
day.
Think I
Yo,
Oh
you
did
could
it?
feed your
God.
Hey,
family for $20 back
hey,
then,
back
man,
then,
for
man,
a
you
whole
think I did
month.
when I did? I went on a hey, I went on a date myself. We went
yeah,
to the movies. Look, I was like, hey, I got the big thing of popcorn, got her own drink. I was like,
hmm
hey, we was in there. I was like, hey, you want some candy to go with that
yeah.
there?
We ain't split no medium soda, bro.
Yeah,
Right?
we was
Oh
splitting that. And
man.
like I said, back
Yup.
then, when you say large, a large was a large. It's not this,
The
they
supersize.
gaffling us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
They
You get a
gaffling us,
large,
man.
you get a large soda. You getting diabetes that night.
that
Yep.
night, bro.
Yeah,
And
you
plus
leaving
the
out of the
bus,
theater.
yo,
Hey,
the
you
bus
lost
ride used to
your
be $1.
yeah, man. You
People don't
leaving out of
remember
the
that. You used
theater.
to ride the whole city for $1.
Bro, I
Yeah,
used to do it
after
for
drinking the
35
soda out
cents,
of
a
there,
quarter
man.
95. My
I
bad,
tell you this.
Soulfinger.
Oh no, I was just saying after drinking the soda after you leave the movie. Because remember, sodas were sweeter back then too. They had more,
Yeah.
all the sugar and stuff. Man, you leave out of there, you lost your eyesight, you lost vision in your left eye.
Yeah, you yes.
One of your toes go numb.
Yes.
I
You
used to be
falling
addicted.
asleep
Them
during
joints
the
was like
movie.
crack, man. I'd be drinking. I'd be like, "Can I get another?" So I've been. By the time the movie's over, I had like 3 sodas. I'm like, "Yo, I don't feel good."
Well, there's
Right.
a
Yup. You
reason
Like,
that they
falling
what's
call it
going
asleep
on?
Coke.
during the movie. Got the itis halfway through the movie, and you ain't eating no meat. You just drinking soda.
Yeah. Bro,
I think I understand where
Again,
you coming from, Freezy, though. But I think I don't know, man, because I know when you was at the movie theater, your money went a little longer out there. You were like, "Yeah, go ahead, get whatever you want, baby. I got enough to go around." You know what I mean? Because you was in the theme, you was ready.
yeah.
I don't know, like Juice itself. Let me see. Okay, so it sounds like a lot of people are saying they like Juice, and you saying the movie's trash or you didn't love it.
Absolutely.
No,
I
so you
think
think it was just trash?
I think I put it in that category almost with how Chuck and I feel about Scarface.
Uh-oh.
Oh
That's a
wow.
whole nother subject. Uh-oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So my thing is with this movie, there are parts wedged in, and it may be poor editing because it's not a very long movie. It's only like 90 something minutes, right? But clearly there are gaps all the way, just gaps throughout the movie. For instance, resolution, right? When Rodamez had Bishop jacked up on the wall, right, and the cops came,
mhm,
and
mhm.
Rodamez bust that left and went down the alley. There was no conflict resolution right there, right? Bishop pulled out the blinky and blast, and then in that scene, and this will tell you how poor the movie is, right? In that scene,
The elevator
when
scene.
Rodamez gets shot, there is no bullet holes, blood splatter, nothing, nowhere. When you go
Nah,
back and watch it, when he blasts Rodamez, all you
Yeah,
hear is the sound, and you see Rodamez on the ground. He ain't even shot.
I thought he was
Nothing.
in a pool of
yeah.
blood.
No,
No.
there was no blood.
Eventually, after that, when you look at after that, but when
Okay.
he shoots him, when you see the flash on the gun, there's no
point
impact, no
blank
nothing.
range. Yeah, there's
And
nothing.
then
Yeah.
when you go back and look at him, all of a sudden it looked like somebody doused 8 gallons of coolant. You know what I'm saying? But the thing about that, but the turntable to that is when Q gets shot in the arm running,
Oh man, look, hey, free.
it's
Oh man, look, but freeze,
Vietnam.
freeze, freeze. Hold on now. Hold
I
on.
was gonna say the elevator scene right after
No,
he
no.
did that.
But before he jump, you go into that BT. The
Go
shot.
ahead,
All
say.
right, look. Oh no. I'm just gonna give it to you. When he shot him in the arm, he was behind him. But if you remember in the movie, the wound is directly in the shoulder.
Yes.
Y'all messing it up for me, man.
I'm just saying. I noticed that now. See, I watched it again. After all that, because it makes no sense. And then too, I'm gonna tell you, me with my back, and I'm gonna tell you, you don't want to watch movies with anybody that's been in the military in certain situations.
Like
Because
myself, yeah,
me and Freezer will mess it up for you. Like that's,
yeah,
I'm like, man, that's bullshit.
that's not real.
Yeah, that's not real. Especially and I'm gonna tell you, don't watch a movie with anybody with combat experience medically. We will mess the movie up for you. I was a
Right.
corpsman, so you see movies when cats get shot in the gut and they like, and they fall over and die real quick. I was
Yeah.
like, man, that ain't gonna happen like that.
No,
So
it
it's
don't
kind of hard. So you have to turn your brain off.
Yeah,
Mm.
But the editing on that, like you said, he got shot from behind and he's running and he's holding his shoulder
yes.
and it's right in like he got like somebody gave him like he got the jab, man.
The worst one was when Steel got shot and he's down. Then he can climb up on a gate or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm like,
Yes,
come on, bro, you already out. You down for the
plus
count.
you
and
plus you
right,
like
and
300 pounds.
my man points the pistol in his face, pulls the
Yeah.
trigger, and we look, and
He
my
shot in his
man has a
stomach.
wound in his right in his shoulder stomach area.
I was gonna say the elevator scene after he pop old dude. He's like, "Oh, what you gonna do? Shoot me?" And
Well,
he's
that's
like, "You gonna shoot?"
that's probably the most realistic shooting scene
No,
because
no, no,
people
no. I was
actually
talking about
crash out like that.
afterwards. I was
Yeah.
talking about afterwards when he shot him in the elevator and he ran in, and then they ended up going into the house party. I was like, "What the hell?" But then it's like I kind of see why they did that. Like everybody was drunk and high. Like that whole scene of them walking into the apartment. I was like, "This has nothing to do with the movie," because at that
Right.
point it could have been something totally different. Like they could have just been running in
Yeah.
through a stash house, and you ain't
Or
gonna let no
something.
little
Yeah.
kid walk up in a party like that, especially after shots being heard on the elevator. Everybody
Yeah.
would have cleared out.
Yeah, and yeah, yes,
Fair.
so there's that. There's also the scene in the store
Oh, with the chick
when
and the gold tooth.
no. Let me finish. No, I'm talking about in the store when they were robbing the store. When they were robbing the store, right? Bishop is not even in position to fire, but he shoots an accurate shot underneath that storekeeper ear. Y'all see that? When I saw that, I was like, "What the yo!" And everybody was shocked. And every time I watch it, I'm shocked. Like, yeah, Q was shocked. Raheem was shocked. Styles was shocked. Everybody like, "Yo, what
An
was
accurate
that?"
shot while being nervous, like shaking the the pistol in his
Yeah.
hand, like he was
Is
nervous.
isn't that the scene where their homeboy dies? The other dude, what's his name?
Raheem.
He dies
afterwards,
right after
right
when they
after that.
ran
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, yeah,
Listen, I
yeah.
think
I
And they
y'all,
in the
forgot his
I
back
name.
think y'all
alley.
just
Raheem.
y'all are underestimating Bishop. Bishop went from Juice to Wanted in like no
You
time
beat me
flat.
to it,
No
DSJ. I
He
don't
cur-
appreciate
he
you.
curbed the bullet.
I don't
He
appreciate you. I
curbed
don't
the bullet.
DSJ. I don't
Curved the
appreciate you
bullet.
stealing, snatching that because I was about to say that.
Let me
I'm gonna
let
tell
me
you.
let me ask
Yellow card, DSJ. I'm throwing a yellow card on.
yellow card, please. Oh, no. Yeah, but let me ask Chuck this. Chuck, because when we did Silence of the Lambs, Chuck impressed me a little bit on his thoughts and stuff. And Chuck, if I may, I want to ask you this: how did Raheem pivot so quickly from being the guy that stops them from going in robbing the store with Blizzard, and he like, no, I'm keeping y'all out of trouble, and blah blah blah, to at the end of the week they are robbing a store and he is the mastermind of it.
Um, well, I think it comes when they see his girl getting in old boy's car,
Okay,
See, Special Ed did it.
okay,
Yeah,
right? And so it's like now
I gotta
I
be a
keep
man.
my bread up because that's what she wants, and that's how I'm gonna keep my family together.
okay,
But
okay.
Yeah, I think
I
that's what it
also
is.
feel, but in that scene though, he does explain what happens. He said that man is crazy. When he go down, he gonna go down by himself. We gonna do if we do something, we're doing it for us. So in a way, he was letting them know if we gonna do something crazy like that, it's gonna be us. It ain't gonna be us getting involved with somebody else's BS. Because I remember that scene. And he was like, and even Pac was like, man, it's check week, man. They got hella money. He's like, nah, think about it. It could go crazy in there. And it's kind of like foreshadowing of what's going to happen. But Raheem going to see his own, warning sign.
Right. I don't. I'm perplexed by that because even okay. So I'm perplexed by robbing the bodega makes you a man thing. Right. I'm perplexed by that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it was that so much, Freezy. I mean, the robbing the bodega is a means to an end. It's about getting his bread up because they didn't have no bread.
Right.
And he's trying to compete with Special Ed's character and the whole bling that the dude, he got the nice car. These dudes on foot patrol. And he really liked the girl, and then losing the girl to old boy. I think he was the only person who had his head on straight throughout the whole movie, and that one thing took him off the square and messed up everything for everybody.
Like when y'all was talking about Stand By Me, this movie didn't remind me of Stand By Me. It reminded me of another poorly executed movie called Set It Off. I love the premise of Set It Off, right? The execution kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole thing is the chicks, and the chicks is grimy. They out here, one innocent, one a nerd, one, you know what I'm saying? And then one out here just doing the best she can, trying to take care of it. It kind of reminds me of Set It Off in that aspect, right? Where one of the people is just bananas. You know what I'm saying? But
I think that it wasn't a coming of age story like what Stand By Me was. Like Set It Off is a completely different dynamic,
right.
because it was circumstantial in terms of I've had enough. I've already given adulthood a fair shot because all of them were adults.
Right.
With Stand By Me and Juice, we're talking about guys that are trying to figure out life in this crazy world.
I don't think I don't think they were trying to come of age, bro. I think all of them had their mind made up that school or being young was not it. Because the one guy that at the end tried to go back to school, he wasn't serious. Soon the first time we see him go back to school, he late for class. He can't even remember his combination on the locker. You know what I'm saying?
You ain't been here in so long.
Yeah, he ain't been here in that long. And then two, he was dating a married woman. First of all, she had to at least be 30, right? And this is how I figured she was 30, right? Because even if she immediately after she graduated from school went to college and then got her RN, that puts her at about 24, right? In order for her to just walk into that emergency surgery place where my man was shot at, you have to have tenure. You can't just walk around the house, you know what I'm saying? And people not ask you, why you here? So I'm giving her at least 5 years. That puts her at like 29, 30. You know what I'm saying? So
Freezy don't play with the movie breakdown, man. Freezy don't play.
That man that she was married to, that dude about 45, 50. Man.
About 45, 50. Because soon as he saw Q, he was like, who is this boy? Right?
Right. But don't that happen now though, Unc? Like with women who are in a relationship in their 30s and their wedding goes bad, they go after some young cat. And plus, if you look, Q,
he's usually not like a 17 or 18-year-old though.
Nah, he was like an 18-year-old because if you look at a lot of the stuff that he was doing, he was like a senior in high school technically. And then that was back in the time when they used to just pass kids because of the tendency. The public schools wouldn't get funding if they didn't have a certain amount of people in the school. That's why they had the truancy officers.
I think they were younger than that, bro.
I thought he was 18. They were pushing 17 going into 18.
I'm gonna say they was.
I'm gonna say 17.
I'm gonna say they about 16 because here's the thing: when you 18, bro, and you don't want to go to school, guess what you can do? Not go to school.
Mm-hmm, you drop out, but they had to be about 17 at the time.
Yeah, the truants are.
So basically, she wasn't a cougar; she was a saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah. You think the truancy officers gonna be chasing 18-year-old dudes? When truancy officers see a 17 or 18-year-old dude, they're like, I ain't gonna chase no grown man, bro. You know what I'm saying? These dudes had to be way younger than that, bro. You know what I'm saying? Think about if you are a truancy officer and you see a dude that look like he about 18 in the face. You gonna chase a dude that look like he about 18 in the face? Nah, you ain't gonna do that, bro. You
If
ain't
you
get rid.
18,
You
you're
ain't
not
get.
running.
Yeah,
Yeah, Radamas was walking around and they were all in the same. Yeah, I see what you're saying. They wasn't going after Radamas like that when he was walking around. You got a point.
hey, Chuck, you said they only chasing because they took off running.
Right. If you 18, you're not running from truancy. You 18.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think these dudes 17 or 18. You know what I'm saying? Because even if you in that 17 age range, everybody birthday ain't on the same day. So some of the dudes in the crew might be closer to 18 than others because everybody's birthday ain't gonna be around the same time. You know, y'all know how it is. You know how you in school and everybody birthday, you know, like some you got some that just turned 17, and then some that's been 17 for a while, and then others that are about to turn 18. It's not that, you know what I'm saying? It's not that somebody missed school or something. It's just how the calendar roll, bro. That's what I'm saying. That there are some gaps in the storytelling that frustrated me. And I don't want to pick it apart because there are some parts that I really want to break down with Soulfinger and Chuck. No
Like
disrespect to everybody else, but if y'all
like
seen the Boys in the Hood episode, bro, man, yo, you talking about slicing and dicing, Chuck and Soulfinger did they thing. I went back and watched it 2 more times, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
like the
But
DJ scene where he's underage and he's allowed to go into a DJ scene that's an after party scene. Like
nah,
that. That's what you mean.
no, like
Okay.
when at the repass when
Oh
Raheem
yeah,
baby mama was sitting on the chair with the little baby boy in her arm.
yeah,
Not now that little boy gonna grow up without a father
yeah. I was thinking about that.
in Harlem.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Charlene was
That's
trifling
yeah.
and unattractive.
Huh?
I said
Yes,
Charlene was trifling as she was unattractive.
yeah. DSJ a troll, bro.
First,
DSJ a
first,
troll, bro.
first thing I thought when that seen her was, I know Raheem ain't here worried about this girl when I mean there's like 7 other girls in that scene just walking by that was looking better.
Right, right. Right? You talking
But
about Q, and my man
not a baby
arguing over
by
that?
you, the neighborhood hussy.
Yeah,
Donna
man.
Brown will probably look better than
but
her.
Wow.
what if she was Raheem's first?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then
Because he
he should
came
have
off
picked up
like
the
she was his
ball.
first.
Cause think,
That's how he came off, like that was his first piece.
yeah.
So
Cause think.
That
I'm
that poor
sorry. Go ahead,
thing.
Chuck.
no. That's all I was gonna say. That like he gave off that energy like she was the first girl he ever slept with,
Yeah.
right? So and not only that, she carried his child. So there's something
A
a little
connection.
more of an attachment there.
Yeah.
And yeah, looks might not have anything necessarily to do it when it comes to her
Right.
because she means something more to him. And
Right.
you could tell because as soon as she walked off, it went from yo, we can,
His whole expression changed.
yeah,
Yeah.
well F you then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you
Eh,
could see he was hurt when she got in the car. Like he was
right.
hurt. You could see it in his face, like, oh.
Right. Right. And
That
then
was just about the baby. Don't worry about that.
right.
That was just about.
Now, but the thing too is think about it. The baby is about 9 or 10 months old in her arms, right? And she carried him for 9 months. So you talking about 19 months. So they bumped uglies at least 19 months ago, right? They might have been like 15 years old, bro, when they first got together. You know what I'm saying? So, yo, it's like that's what I'm saying. The storytelling to me has a lot of potholes in it. Like every time I want to go, I see a hole in the ground. And I'm like, shit. Yeah,
There we go.
I can't. I can't get like for instance, there's a part of the movie where Q and his little brother is in the room, right? The little brother is like 5 and Q is like 17.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So you like, okay, what Mom Duke's up to? Little stuff, right? Like how Samuel L. Jackson character know all the neighborhood news,
Yeah,
and people go to him to
for info.
spread the gossip.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So if Samuel L. Jackson know all this stuff going on and they coming in his spot, how come he don't do something like the mayor and try to put a stop to some of this nonsense?
well,
Because
A Freeze, the follow up on that, when it came down to the shooting and everything, and when I don't mean to jump so far ahead, when the whole thing came down to shooting and how Bishop started tripping and everything,
Right.
with him having all that information and knowing all of them, he didn't even put 2 and 2 together.
Right.
And you would think that he would be the one to put everything together because he knew these cats.
Right. Right.
I was gonna say, because of that, like Samuel L. Jackson, to me, he was that dude that just knew everything. But at the same time, you got to let them duke it out, because if you don't, they're gonna come at you now. They're gonna press you, and now you got to deal with it. So sometimes you got to let two kids is beefing, let them fight it off, shoot the fair one. Once they're done, most likely they'll be friends, because that's what normally happened back when I was coming up. I hated this kid. Me and him will fight for like 2-3 weeks straight. Right after school, 3 o'clock, constantly fighting.
But when you say the fair one, people are dying, so there's no fair one at that point.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what I
But
was
that's
gonna-
how the streets was. I'm telling you, I'm not saying I was a bad kid, but if I had a problem with someone, the adults would be like, yo, y'all two fight it out or we gonna get involved. Like, that's how I was raised. So that's why
But that's not. But you got to take into context too, though. All of that is well and good that you just said until Rodamaz gets shot.
facts.
Right. Right. Once Rodamaz gets shot, nah, because these kids is out here killing each other around your spot. And if you Sam Jackson's character, and you heard about the old man that got killed, he was just trying to keep his store area clean. Once you find out that he got killed, what's to stop them from killing Sam Jackson?
Because he kept his mouth shut. And it's also, hey, better him than me. I'm sorry to say it, but I know a lot of cats that be saying that. It's better him than me, and I kept my mouth shut, so I got a code to this shit.
But he didn't keep his mouth shut, bro.
Nah, I think Sam Jackson's character was the safe haven. I think his store was a safe haven. I think that's why you're not going to see him get attacked, because you're in essence protected by the cover of, oh, he got my back. Now, he's not a good character for that,
Right.
but I think that's the reason why you're not going to him with the intention of doing him harm, as opposed to Old Man Quillis was like, get away from my store, you're scaring away my customers. Nah, those guys that you're scaring away were Sam Jackson's customers.
Right.
Now, the flip side of why he doesn't have knowledge of the things that was going on is because although he has his ears to the streets and will get that information prior to, understand that that's because it's a collective of people involved in that situation. They're bypasses that see what's going on, that's telling everything that's going on. In terms of a crime, the 4 guys that are involved, including the guy that got killed in Raheem,
Right.
they're the only ones that know.
Right.
And they're not telling anybody else. So who is there to sit there and gossip to or tell what's going on if the people involved aren't telling you anything?
Hey, DSJ, I thought about that too. And you know what ran across my mind? Sam Jackson knew that store was going to get robbed, bro. You know how I know? Because Q was in a DJ competition, bro. And he walked his ass straight from the competition, straight to the basketball court to meet them. On the way, Sam Jackson's like, hey, man, congratulations, man, for winning that such and such and such. Remember that?
Yeah.
Raheem said, when you finish over there, come straight over here. Because remember, they met him. He was like, yo, what you mean you got a DJ competition? What are we supposed to be getting together? Such and such and such to talk about the, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yo, it's a DJ competition. He's like, yo, well, go over and do that, and then come straight over here.
Over here, yeah.
And that man went straight. He went there. He did a DJ competition. Him and Queen Latifah, blah, 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 out there. He went straight from that spot, straight to Raheem and everybody. And before he can get to Raheem, Samuel L. Jackson congratulated him. The news got to Sam Jackson before Q could tell everybody what happened.
But I think Sam Jackson, at that, the way you just described it, it puts it together. Sam Jackson was the one that gave him the gun to rob. So you probably right because that's the only reason why he was
No,
known
they
to.
got the
No,
gun.
he
No, they
got the
got the
gun from
gun.
Sweets.
Sweets.
They got the gun from Sweets.
You got the gun for Sweets.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the thing is Samuel Jack, his character was Chester though.
yeah.
You remember because all of the
Him
high school
and Orange
girls in
Juice
there,
Jones. God.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, him and Orange Juice Jones, yeah. And see, that's the thing is that movie just got a bunch of, you had the, Ed was, especially Ed was hot at the time. You had Latifah, and then you had Tretch in there, and they were just kind of like throwing people in. And,
EPMD was the
yeah,
judges.
EPMD judges, and they were just throwing people in there. I think Cool G Rap was in it too because he was sitting at the bar, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
EPMD was at the bar when they got
Yeah,
robbed with Pussy.
they were at the
Both
bar,
of
and
them.
Cool G Rap. I want to say Cool G Rap was at the bar too.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. There are holes in this movie. And I think the idea of the movie is great. I think some of the execution of it is
But
sounding.
you know what I think it is, Freezy? And you're right. I think the way they made it play out, Samuel L. Jackson's character probably should have known what was going on.
Yes.
But they made it. They also put it to a point where, like you said, the parties involved wasn't spilling any information. And even if there's other people who talk in the streets, stuff started to get kind of hot out there. So at some point, even if you got the info, you like, nah, people's dying. Nah, I'm gonna hold this one. So maybe stuff dried up for the movie's sake. But the way it was playing out, you're definitely right. All the connecting of it, he should have known what was going on. I agree with that.
But
That's-
also,
but
now go ahead.
no, I was gonna say part of that too is the production of the movie and who's directing it. Ernest Dickinson is not known for classics.
Direction.
Yeah, he's not like the only movie that he's done that I can say I really like, and it may not even be a movie that other people like, but I don't care. I like it. Surviving the Game with Ice-T. I like that movie.
Okay.
And that was one of his joints, but he doesn't produce a lot of good movies.
Okay.
But y'all forget about the network, the neighborhood network. There's always somebody out of the window watching what's going on. Seeing
True.
who's who. That's another way that the network he could have known. He could have known some chick that was on the corner saying, "Oh, I saw such and such's kid out there playing." Because I remember when I cut school, my mother would know before we even had cell phones. This is back when we had the old rotary phones. My mom would be like, "You cut class? How you know?" Well, Miss Such and Such saw you walking in the street, and then her aunt saw you as well coming back from the grocery store. So
Right. There's some. I think there's some truth to that too, because I think Sweets wound up saying, "Hey, tell your mom tell her Jackie said hi." Remember that?
Yeah.
But she didn't even take it. So part of what BT is saying, I'm with him on part of that because I don't remember Sweets taking the cash from Q. I remember her giving him the pistol, the little shotty, but I don't remember her taking the bread.
No, she didn't take. I don't remember her taking the bread either.
And if she didn't take the bread, that means she was looking out for her friend's son.
That's what. Yeah.
Right. So it's a lot of little nuanced stuff in that I wish that the movie would have built on, like the neighborhood thing, like BT was saying. If it was some more of that built up in there, I think it would have been. And then plus two, here's the thing. The movie opens with Radames as being the enemy. You don't even know why he the enemy.
Nah, you do, because him and Pac had beef because I think they had an argument about Pac being like his dad or something. His dad and him had beef because of with his moms. Tupac's dad was like some dude sleeping around with his mom, and they got into a beef. And he's like, "You think you Spanish and all of that? You think you like us?" That's what I remember.
No. Pac just said that. He was just talking trash to him.
Oh, okay.
He's talking shit. But he was messing with Pac about his Pac because everybody knew his Pac was he had some kind of he was dealing with mental illness.
Right.
So, and it went from there. Everybody knew, and he was like, he got locked up. He came out. He wasn't the same.
Right.
So, it was, and then he kept going in. But thing is, if you remember in the beginning when they were going around each other's house, when he was in there looking at his Pop, it was almost like he was looking at it, that's gonna be me.
Right.
You know, so he was looking at him like that, that's gonna be me. So he just kind of went that way.
Right. So for you know what else I was gonna say too? Hey, my bad, Chuck. I'm gonna just say this real quick and move out the way, right? I think Pac was already robbing cats before this. That's the reason why he had the appetite for it. You know how others, you got to kind of grow in that appetite before you kind of get used to it.
Perch
And,
snatcher.
yeah, if you remember, Pac slid his pop some cash in his shirt pocket when he was on the chair looking at the TV. Remember that?
Yep.
Looked like that was about $150. He just slid in his pocket.
It slid in his pocket.
And where does a 16, 17-year-old kid get that kind of money from?
Perch snatching. They used to run around the neighborhood and just steal purses and take money out of it and run back. So yeah, you're probably right.
The foulest part, he killed his man, and the first thing he could think of was, let me check his pockets.
Yeah,
Right.
And real quick, I stand corrected. Kool G wasn't in it. I thought Kool G Rap was in it. I had to go back and check. He wasn't in it.
Okay.
Thought I saw him at the bar. From looking at Cass, but Flex was in it, and he had that little bitty scene when he got
If you didn't know he was in it, he definitely announced himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I didn't like the fact that they introduced his father early in the film and never saw any type of dynamic
and never built nothing off that.
They never built anything. Yeah, they did leave that hanging because to me, I thought that was
maybe his father was that type of cat,
right?
And I guess he aspired to be just like his pops, but he was also living with his mama basically. So
yeah, it was all maybe his pops had the name, had that street cred like he wanted to get, but he just couldn't get it because that was that scene right there, the open scene, give you a back almost. It was. I think if they would have brought in more of a backstory on his pop and his dynamic, that would have really improved because I think that was. That opening scene with his pop and his interaction with his pop, the way he looked at him and everything, it was pretty powerful scene. If now that I can look back at it, now that I'm older, I can look at it and appreciate what they were trying to do. It may not come off away, but I appreciate what they were trying to do, trying to set. I mean, their own way of setting the table. And I know during that time, these movies weren't going to get that kind of funding that the other movies was going to get. So you got steak and lobster type ambitions with it, but they're giving you crackers and cheese type money to make it happen. So you had to cut corners, and I get that.
Right.
And maybe he's a trauma victim as well. Hurt people.
Right.
Exactly.
That's a fact. Yep.
I was gonna say I thought him and his dad was mad cool, but then when his dad got locked up and he saw the change in his dad, it hurt him. Like no matter what you do, whether you good or bad, you end up like this. This is like what I'm saying, like a rude awakening. Like because for me, the way Pac looked at his dad, it's like he still had respect for him when he gave him that money and everything. Like yo, dad, here's some money for you, to stay on your feet. That's a kid taking care of his dad, and to be real with you. The only type of people I see that's like that is a kid who respected his dad and looked up to him. And then something happened and then boom, either it's drugs or he got arrested, whatever it may be. But he don't blame what happened to his dad. He blames the after effect and only remembers what his dad was to him. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe his dad was a hustler going out there making money and he was buying bikes. They would spend mad good time. Then he get locked up. He gets out. Now he just a zombie. And it hurt.
Yeah, I don't think they hurting for money, bro. There were too many scenes where they flashed stuff.
Name brand stuff.
Yep.
Plus there was always robbing the record store too.
Yeah.
Obviously some of it for their own amusement, but you never know. They might have been selling some of them records to other people too, getting bread off that.
Did you see Q turntables in that room?
Yo, that shit was the top of the line.
Did you see how many you see in the first scene when Q was getting dressed? Do you see how many brand name pair of sneakers he put on? His outfit was right.
Mm-hmm. 3 different versions of pumps.
Yes.
And those were expensive. They were more expensive than Nikes because those were the things back in the day.
Right, right. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying about the thing about bread. I don't think it's about bread, bro. You
But
know what I'm
then
saying?
again, oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, if you really think about it, if like I'm sorry, Ron said with the records, yo, I could get you 4 of these records. You get me these new air pumps. All right, cool, because you know someone that worked at Foot Action or Foot Locker. So y'all used to. That's how a lot of kids used to hustle back in the day. Be like, yo, I get you these records that nobody could get, but they only sell in a certain store. They would steal them, go back and be like, yo, give me 2 pairs of sneakers. Give me this. That's how barter and trade.
So
Mm.
But
so
also consider the fact that Q was an entrepreneur because in terms of what he was doing, he was using his ability as a DJ to make tapes for other people, selling them, basically doing the mixtape thing.
Yeah, selling them at parties, making money that way too.
Yeah.
GQ was not it was not DJ Clue, but might have been the birth of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
You had something.
Chuck. Yeah, I was going to say, what were you going to say, Chuck?
oh no, DSJ took that point. That Q
I'm
was
sorry.
making money. No, there's no need to apologize. Q was making money selling those mixtapes. Like
Mixtapes.
he was his mixes were played at house parties.
Right.
Because he said to the guy that he was trying to sell the mixtape to $15, he was like, "Yo, didn't you smash? Wasn't the party off the hook?
Right.
$15." So I don't think it was necessarily for the rest of them about money, but for Raheem, it was about money
Right.
because how much are you gonna give me to get in the bathroom?
Right.
$1,
Yeah.
$5. Like he was negotiating with his sister, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So for him, it was about money. Everybody seemed like they came from a good home, so to speak.
Yep.
Mhm.
Even Bishop's character, grandma's cooking breakfast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Baby, breakfast is ready.
Yep.
Steele has both of his parents, working people.
Yep.
Dad has on a uniform.
Yep.
Q, his mom came to wake him up in the morning.
Mhm.
It's time to go. So like these kids have.
But I was gonna say at the same time, it felt like when Sweet gave the gun, it felt like it was like a favor because he
Yeah.
gave that kid that gun for a reason. So Sweet and Q's mom probably go way back.
Way back. Yeah. I think the favor was keeping her friend's son alive. That was the
Yeah.
Right.
Because it was the streets was talking. They knew it was getting real out there, so he needed some protection.
Right.
I was gonna say,
Lorraine and
Crap.
Jackie go
I
to
was-
the same church.
oh, there you go. Damn it. Oh,
You can sing
yeah.
in the
But
choir
one thing
together.
I couldn't get behind in the movie that always bothered me. First off, I understand what Freezy's saying and the way we're breaking down the movie and understanding the wrong in the movie. If you really look back at it, I think
Right.
the reason why the movie was such a cult classic is that it appealed to young people at a certain age.
Right.
And so at a certain age, you watching this movie, you're not really breaking it down or analyzing. You just watch it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so you got to get caught up. Like, because I was thrown off when Raheem died. I was done.
Like, yep.
Like that was it for
Yeah.
me, B. I was done.
Right.
Like I really literally was upset. So, but I was thinking that I didn't like the Bishop flip, his flip in character. Because
yeah,
I just
it
don't-
was so
I just-
sudden.
And I don't know if there was something that happened that I felt was justified in triggering that change of his mindset. Like
Right.
if something had happened, to maybe one of their friends, right? And they're out and Radames or their people jumped and beat up Steel or hurt Steel real bad or something, I could
Right.
see him flipping. Or if something happened, like his father had got arrested, whatever, the whole thing that happened, his father died or something,
Right.
and I could see the switch happening. But he went crazy because they got Blizzard down at the store. Like, I mean, what?
That's
Like,
not
I
even
don't-
a
but-
man. That's
but
not
for-
even a man.
But
I was like,
you
what?
did see the snap though, because remember before when he's standing outside before the cops came and he's getting jumped, his boys was there before old boy.
And he
put the
was
knife
talking
out, put on his
crazy
own.
then
He was
too.
talking crazy, and
Yeah.
and Raheem came,
Right.
And he had
pushed him
beef with
back
that
and was
gang
like,
from
yo, yo, yo.
before.
That's
For
when
talking
you saw
crazy.
the snap.
Right. But hold on. Let me
Yeah.
say this real quick before I forget, because I forget things.
Yeah.
I get that. I can understand someone saying, like, I'm done with this. I don't want to keep putting up with the bullshit. Y'all, I've been living my life a certain way. Y'all trying to punk me. I'm done. But Bishop's flip was extreme. It wasn't
It was
just that.
extreme.
Because I don't know. Look, you guys all know people you grew up with, right? Your crew, your homeboys.
Right.
You ain't turning on your homeboys. They was with you
No.
from day one. He flipped on everybody.
He said
To me,
second grade. They were together since second
second
grade.
grade.
bro.
Let me,
And
but
Yeah, I
okay,
can't see that.
After he killed Raheem, he thought that the clique would still be good together. But remember, when he was about to get jumped before the cops came, he saw both his boys, and they both stopped and went the other way. That's where he snapped, because if you look at him, he
No,
started
it was before
smiling
then.
when he
Nah,
saw
he
them,
snapped- he snapped
and then when he
before
saw
It
them
was
turn
before.
around,
It was before then, BT. It was before then. See, the thing is, as I watched it, it was little underlying things. You knew he wasn't quite wrapped. He was,
Right.
you could. The cheese was sliding off the cracker.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
In the
Right,
movie, because he
yeah.
was always. Because kid, you remember when they were in Steele's house and they were arguing over whatever, little stupid stuff, and he was the way he was going. So, because the beginning, he was always taking little shots. He was always taking little shots as cats on the other. But the switch flipped. It wasn't really when Blizzard got when the cops murked Blizzard. That's what it was. They was in the house because
Yep.
Blizzard got killed. They went
Right.
Steele's house, and he and Q got into it. And that's when Raheem was like, "Hey, yo, you guys to chill." But you saw the look right then and there. It was just always that little something. But when he shot
Right.
him in the alley, shot Raheem in the alley, that that whole dynamic, the way it went, and then afterwards he was kind of like
He
went
just
into
owned up to it after
and
that.
then. And okay, but even before that, go early in the scene when it's Q and old boy was wearing that red jacket. They were talking. He's like, man, I can see it in his eyes. He's talking all this trash, saying this to me. He's like, was anybody else there? He's like, nah, he was just talking to me. I saw it in his eyes that he's changing. Something's happening.
Right.
So before they even saw Pac with the Spanish dudes, they were talking about that transition, because he broke it down and was like, me and him was talking. He's all crazy, pulling out the gun, acting different. I can see it in his eyes. So he didn't do
BT,
the
let me interject something real quick. Just real quick. Bro, Radamez and his crew never did anything beyond accost them.
Yeah,
right.
They didn't jug. Nobody got caught up with any juggers. Nobody got any lead or nothing like that.
It only got physical when Bishop got physical in a 1-on-7. You know what I'm saying? It got physical when Bishop pushed Radamez and then Radamez pull out the bleed. You know what I'm saying? To remind them, like, hey, listen, you don't want to go there. You know what I'm saying? They just accosting them, bro. They just bullying, right? And for it to get to a point when here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? I think the switch was flipped when he first laid eyes on the pistol.
Yeah.
I felt like when he first laid eyes on the pistol, it empowered him to be something he would otherwise not be. You know what I'm saying? It was the battery in his back. Because remember when he first saw it, he was like, yo, I'll hold the pistol.
Yeah, but hey, Freeze, remember when they were at the house watching that movie? That old gangster joint, and the way he was into the shooting and all like that, the way he was going down.
That's the way you're supposed to go out. That's the way you're supposed to go out. You ready to die? Remember that?
Yeah, that's when it was lit.
When he had,
I Gave You Power was a movie.
I was gonna say when he was in the alley, and he was holding the pistol. You could see him like, yeah, this is my baby right here. Like you could see his eyes change. I see what you mean, though. But the way he was holding the pistol, and they were like, yo, man, we got to get rid of it. He's like, nah, it's mine. Like,
I hold on to it, right? And the thing is too. I felt like Pac wanted the pistol because if you notice, every fight scene in the movie, Bishop was in,
snatched up.
He was getting his ass whooped.
Yeah, they were snatching. They was getting his ass snatched up.
Q, think about this. Q was whooping his ass with a bullet wound.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so all these. So I felt like when I was thinking, I'm like, you know what? That's why when he saw the Roscoe, he was like, yo, you know what? This makes me more.
This
now
changes everything.
Yes.
Yeah,
I gave you power.
it gave him power.
I made
Right.
you buck wild.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying. And so there were other parts in the movie too. The thing with Raheem, like what Chuck pointed out when he was talking about his sister in the bathroom, like holding the bathroom hostage. Man, his sister was out of work at that point. Remember, she was like, I'm running late for a job interview. Right? That's why she was running late, right? Also, I think Raheem was the only one out of this whole crew to have a real motivation, and he died for it, right? His motivation wasn't for sneakers. Remember when you looked at his shit, he ain't have fancy sneakers. He ain't have fancy caps, all that stuff.
Mm-mm.
He had a baby he had to take care of.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. He was trying to make moves because she would
Right.
remember. She told him, "I'm not going to have my son. I'm trying to give my son a chance to get out of this. I'm not
Right.
going to have him around you and your sorry ass friends."
Yep. So there are a lot of deeper storylines in this thing. Like for instance, Steele's pops, for him to be up before them boys woke up in the morning, and so when they wake up every morning, the first thing they see is they pops in the uniform going to work. He was trying to instill work ethic in them fellas so that they can ascend out of that place that they are right now.
Mhm.
Right? But my man didn't have no stomach for that. Steele ain't had no stomach for nothing, bro. He was a coward the whole movie. He ain't have no stomach
Steele
for
was-
every. Okay.
Oh yeah, Steel. If
No, that's
he
not
was
true.
in died, Steel would have told if he survived in the hospital. He would have told on everybody.
He did tell.
He did, right?
tell, 'cause
Yeah.
Remember when he in the hospital and
He
they
told
just
he
said,
told
"Take
the
out his mouth."
nurse.
He
He
told
told
the
the
nurse.
Right,
he
right.
told
I
his
missed that part.
girlfriend.
Yeah. You're right.
Good show.
But the thing is how I knew that Bishop was weak. Bishop snitched on Rodamez in the police station. Remember that?
Mm.
When they was like, yo,
That's
who
why
did
they
you
went
yo,
after
man, Rodamez is the one with all the juice. Rodamez, you know what I'm saying? He in there
Everybody
looking
had a
hard,
motive.
but you could tell he was shook. He in there laughing. They got like an ashtray full of cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? I know that cost him $500 to smoke all them cigarettes, right? Because he in New York. You know what I'm saying? But my thing is when
Well,
they
not
were
then.
in there questioning him, he snitched out a dude from his neighborhood, bro. Right then, I knew that he was already way off balance. Right then, I knew he was way off balance.
From the jump, he was with the Steel's supposed to be his man. From the jump, he's doing low hanging. He dropped like 10 fat jokes in like the opening 5 minutes of the movie,
Right.
picking on like I guess the weakest guy at the clique or whatever.
Right.
But, if that's your man, you don't do that repeatedly.
That's what bullies do, though, because
Yeah.
bullies are weak too. So
Yeah.
a weak one will pick on the one that's weaker than him.
Yeah.
Hurt people.
Right.
Yeah, because if
Yeah.
you remember when they was at the video game, he's like, "Hey, fat boy, put 2 quarters in the machine so I can play." Remember that?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then if I beat you, if I lose, I beat your ass. If I win, I beat your ass. Like, come on, bro.
And then
You
doing
know,
the same thing in the apartment.
Yep, exactly. And
got
I
more
was just gonna
control over
say,
your life than you do. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
no, you're right. No, but that's that's a crazy line to say to somebody.
Right.
Yo, what? I got more control over your life than you do. That is crazy.
Right.
But shout out to Visions in the chat, because when I was talking about it, he's right, because he brought up the YMW Melly thing. Yeah, I mean, there's a certain type of person that will do that to
A
people that they-
sociopath, man.
yeah, that they,
Straight up.
that supposedly care about. But what I wanted to say is like a deeper thing with regards to this. I was the type that I look at, as I got older, I look at my friends. So if stuff don't look right, I'll make my my way out. I move on. But sometimes in these situations, these young kids, they're not paying attention to who they're around. Like, and I get it. They grew up as young kids together. But as people get older and you start to see tendencies and changing patterns, like what they like to do seems a little bit more reckless than what you might be accustomed to doing.
Right.
You got to learn to distance yourself early before you get too
Right.
deep in it, because then you're in a situation, where they're like, you my man. You can't. If they crazy, you ain't going nowhere. You rocking with me. Like
Right.
you got to be able to move accordingly early.
But
Right.
that's what Raheem did, because remember when Blizzard was robbing, he's like, he's gonna go down by himself. We ain't getting involved, and he was a
No,
strong leader. But at the
I
same
think that
time,
was too late. I think
no,
that
no,
was too late. And hold on, I don't want to
Now, go ahead.
cut you off. I want you to be able to speak. But I was just thinking another thing that I was thinking about that whole dynamic is that right, like you got to also understand who you're talking to and who you're dealing with, right?
Right.
And they all respected Raheem, but I
Yeah.
think Raheem might have also played that big brother, that father type role in the group. But
Right.
the way he's handling everybody, you can't handle everybody equally. Like the way he could talk to Steele and the way he could talk to Q is one thing, but
Right.
the way you talk to Bishop got to be
Right.
something different. Because
Right.
even in the scene in the freaking apartment when they're fighting and he's like, yo, squash that, and he's like, Bishop, I'm like, yo, this dude's talking to him like he's his kid. Like I can't,
Yeah.
like, nah. And I think that's probably been happening in that group, and that's resentment that Bishop gets, you know, from that point, like growing up with this dude. Like he's always telling me what to do, like he's over me.
Well, you know what,
but-
Ron, you put it like that, the pecking order, because you kind of saw the pecking order take place in the apartment. I mean, when it first started out, it was Raheem, Q, Bishop, and then Steele.
Right.
But then,
You
like what I
saw it.
what I was gonna say was, if you look back at that time, these are your boys because you've known them since the second grade, and on top of that, it's not just that he can't distance himself. Once he do, now he's considered fool, because what's gonna happen is, the Spanish guy, I keep forgetting his name.
Radamez.
Rodamans is gonna jump on him, start picking on him. He ain't got nobody to back him up. So sometimes you rather just take the abuse from your boys at that time, because they still gonna give you some type of protection. Because if you really think about it, most people who are stuck in that situation, they rather be where they're at with a little bit of protection, knowing that if they get jumped, these boys are gonna come back and clap back for them, even though they picking on you, rather than it just be him sitting there with a bloody nose.
Okay. I'm gonna say this about Radamez. One of the good things about this movie is that the faux villain, and I mean the fake villain, Radamez, was an excellent fake villain. Hey, I think his acting was spot on. I think he may have been the best actor in the movie, because unlike others, like when I saw Omar Epps, I'm calling him Omar Epps, right? Like, yeah, man, and then I'm calling the other dude Lean on Me, right? I'm like, yeah, and then the other character, I'm calling him Tupac, right?
Yeah, but Freeze, what about Fab Five?
I know, I saw. But what I was gonna say though about Radamez is Radamez was the most believable consistently throughout the entire movie. Like Bishop had his moments in the movie where you felt like, oh man, that's great acting by Tupac. And then there's the Bishop scene at the school where when Q closed the locker, Bishop right there,
You at
right?
hide it.
Right.
He was acting like the Joker.
He came, you telling me you came all the way to that man's school, you know what I'm saying? All this stuff to do, you know what I'm saying? You came all this way to tell him that you don't need him?
Yeah.
You went all the way out your way to tell Q that you don't need him and that you can live without him.
But in fairness, Freezy, that's not on Tupac's character. He played the role. That's a bad direction by the production team and how they write in the movie.
Right. Okay.
I'm gonna have to disagree, because the point is that he was man enough to go to his face and tell him, "Yo, I don't need you," rather than talk smack behind his back. That was the purpose, making him feel scared and reading him before he made that decision. Because remember, when he closed the locker, he jumped like he was scared. So Pac recognized, oh, I could check this dude now. Now I see he ain't snitching on me. Now I could read him. Okay, I don't need you. That was it. It was more of an intimidation effect to where he was like, "Yo, fall back in your place. Remember who you dealing with."
BT, but okay, if that's the case, then why later on in the movie he went back to Samuel L. Jackson to snitch on that dude and say those things about Q? Right? You see the
Because Bishop is a sociopath.
Just did the same thing with Rodman, to where he's like he wanted it. First of all, okay, the way I read it was Pac, when he did that whole locker scene, it was meant for him to show fear, like I'm still in control. But then when he realized that Q wasn't gonna back down, he went back to reverting to snitching to try to get him in trouble. To where now it's not just Pac going after him; it's the whole neighborhood, police, all of that. So then now Pac is gonna get him. Whether it's him, somebody gonna get him for Pac. So it's like Pac kind of looked at it like, first off, me and you gonna square off. Let me see what you about. I bet I got you scared. Now, as the movie started going on, he was like, I can't get to him in the way I want to. Like I got Raheem, because I know he ain't gonna fall for that. So let me have him run to me and be scared by snitching on him.
Let me rewind that with Chuck a little bit. Chuck, do you remember? Chuck, you remember the scene at the repass where Bishop hugged Raheem's mom, and he looked Q in the eyes with the sociopath look?
Right.
To me, that was a compelling. To me, that's compelling right there,
Right.
because Bishop didn't say a word, right? But he sent a clear message to Q, right? Didn't say a word, right? And then you have the inconsistency of him at school behind the locker door and saying a whole bunch of things that conflicted. He said a whole bunch of things that conflicted. Man, I don't need nobody, but we crew. I'm in charge. Basically, you don't need nobody, but we a crew, and we a crew forever, right? And I don't need you. I'll get you too, but we a crew. Like, it was so many that speech right there just said either Bishop was a complete sociopath in that moment, right? Or the writing was terrible.
I would say a little bit of both, Freeze. I say a little bit of both, because he was showing sociopath tendencies, but it was the way they wrote everything. You know, that was because it could have gone. I think if they would have leaned more into him being more of a sociopath, that would have been a better outcome. Just my opinion.
Okay.
You know, I think if they would have leaned into it more, but it goes back into how you didn't lean into things with his pop. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So a lot of that had to, and again, it goes back to some of the writing and some of the things that happened during that time with the money. Like I said, you know, we knew that Bishop, the cheese slid off his cracker, or was starting to slide off the cracker. You know,
right.
But Chuck,
can I
Chuck,
offer a different take, or a kind of unusual take? I think that Bishop is Cain, and the crew is Abel, and there's a hint of jealousy in terms of the dynamic in the crew. Everything starts from now. The same thing that he said at the locker, right?
Yeah.
Because again, I still love you, but I'm willing to kill you because I'm jealous of you.
That's what I was gonna say.
maybe with Raheem and with Q, but he ain't jealous of Steel.
No.
No,
Well,
but
there's not. Well, see, I think there's a factor of jealousy in there as well. Again, the mistreatment is because, again, of the dynamic. I think that in terms of everybody else revered Steel enough to where they were still hanging out with Steel, right? Steel is part of that crew.
Yeah.
So
Steel was like the
even
Josh
as
Hart of the crew. Yeah.
even as they're cracking
glue guy.
jokes because even again, you're entertaining the fact that he quote unquote slept with Donna Bromwell, knowing that there's a possibility that didn't happen.
Right.
But they're still listening to the story like, okay, my man. And again, Raheem's the first one to give him dap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you revere him?
That's
Let me tear him down in front of y'all, and maybe y'all feel differently. And the moment that he did, that's exactly what happened. Because now everybody started doing the whole Dawn. Come here, big man.
I was gonna say that's what a sociopath
I
is.
agree.
They're very unstable. Like 1 minute you see him still saying, "Yo, man, I love you. Don't snitch on me," but really, the second you turn that corner, he pulling the trigger. That's the kind of diversity. Like the whole locker scene, you saw him one-on-one show his true colors, but then every other moment until they're in the elevator scene, that you don't see that moment again. So for me, it's like he's trying to show, yo, I can control you. Like when he hugged his moms, he's showing you, I could get to you. Be scared of me. Don't snitch. And then when he start, you see what I'm saying? Like that's the thing about sociopaths.
Raheem's dead. Somebody shot him.
Yeah, it's like sociopaths. They'll show you love, like, oh man, I love you, but they be the ones setting you up. and they be the most coldest person because they're unstable themselves. So yeah, he got love for you, and he may show you a moment of it because y'all been together since second grade. But if you look, he was gonna set him up. He's slowly setting him up, and he's only showing him his dark side to Q, like you next, you next, you next. But Q didn't really realize it until they went in the elevator.
I'd say
Can we,
that sociopaths aren't necessarily unstable because they always have a motive, which is themselves.
Right.
If that motive is always yourself, you can kind of predict what a sociopath is going to do.
Right.
So I won't say that like their motives will like what they do will change based on themselves to protect themselves. That I guess innately would be considered unstable. But if you know that they're always out for self and always thinking about self, and that is the ground basis for all their decisions, it's that is the stability within their chaos, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
okay.
I can dig that. I was gonna say something, but I want Chuck to say what he was gonna say first. I'll say it after.
I'll make it real brief because I when DSJ um was breaking down uh Bishop's jealousy, and Unc pointed out, well, he wasn't jealous of Steele. I'll say he was jealous of Steele because Steele's dad wakes
Exactly.
his dad
Good
up
point, Chuck. Good
in the
point.
morning. His dad was going out to work every morning. Like Steele uh was afraid of his father, right? He was afraid of his parents because you remember when that vase broke? Like, yo, what am I
Oh
gonna
yeah,
tell my
man. Yeah, one of my
what am I gonna
parents.
tell my
Yeah.
parents about that? So for him, his father going through what he was going through mentally, or drugs, or whatever the case may be, um, he felt like he lost his dad to a certain extent, right? And here goes this guy that maybe he shouldn't be hanging with us, right? But he does, and these guys have a lot of love for him, even though he may not be as cool as everyone else. But he's still right.
Right.
So that could trigger, and you would say like, damn, you got everything else going for you. This one little thing, you're jealous of this one little thing that I may have.
Right.
Um, Q, he was jealous of Q's relationship with Raheem because it seemed like he always had his back and made him, uh, even if they were arguing, like two brothers and a father would be like, hey man, apologize to your little brother, man. Hey, what are you doing? That's your brother. Y'all don't do that, right? And it was always with resentment in his face, like, oh.
Yeah.
But he did it,
But he listened. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and for Raheem, he had an old soul almost, but then at times you would see the immaturity because he allowed his immaturity, like, bro, this girl ain't the end of everything. I understand you want to keep your family together, but you're about to go to this extent. And it was a reason why they chose Old Man Quillis as well. He ain't never did this before.
Right.
So you start. They say people who rob and steal start with people they know,
Right.
and that was a situation that it wasn't really a big gamble because there was no intentions of going there and harm the guy. Uh, they felt like he was going to give it up, but of course we saw what played out in the movie. I think that Bishop's character, the reason I compared to Stand by Me as a coming of age tale, because honestly those characters were similar. All of those Teddy Dufresne, that don't remind y'all of Bishop.
Yeah,
Uh, his father went insane,
Yeah.
right? And so that was the word about him. He was going to go crazy soon. Um, Chris Chambers, I think that was River Phoenix's character. So, very similar to Raheem. He was always the guy to hold everything together and bring the crew together. And of course, you had the fat kid. I don't remember his name. What was his name, guys? Anybody? from
I can't remember. Yeah, but yeah, I know. Yeah.
and there you have a Gordy. Gordy is Q's character. Best friends with the leader. The leader always looking out for him, always getting Teddy off of his back. Because Teddy's crazy. Um, but the only difference is the outcomes of the movies, and I think it was maybe 2 hours instead of hour and a half that they could have really dived into certain aspects of the movie. I think we would consider it for sure a Stand By Me, or a hood version of Stand By Me.
Right.
Vern
Instead,
Tessio.
what is it?
Vern Tessio. That was Jerry O'Connell's character.
Okay.
Okay. Vern, yeah, Big Vern, yes.
Vern. That's it. And my thing is with this joint though, it moved at such a crispy pace that I think you could have added something. Some things deserve some nuance. Like when Q went to his girlfriend's apartment and they was there over dinner, that would have been the perfect place for him to explain everything wrong with the crew and why they were challenged.
I mean,
Because
yeah, like, what's the purpose of having a girlfriend? You're not even vulnerable enough to just say what's going on, or that's usually what happens in movies like
right,
that, or something.
right. What he did, he snitched, kinda.
Like he dry snitched.
Yeah, he dry snitched. Yeah, but instead of us looking at 30 seconds of stew beef, remember how it was just focused on the stuff that was on the plate. You know what I'm saying? We focused on the dinner. And what's the point? What's the point?
You
You
like
telling us
staring
she-
off into space.
Yeah. What's the point there? You trying to explain to us that she can cook? You know what I'm saying? I mean, right then could have been the thing like, yo, you know what I'm saying? This thing is spiraling out of control. Bishop was just one thing. He's turned into something else. I don't know what's good with my man Steele. Blase, blase, blah. Boom, 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 boom. And before they could even start talking good, the phone ringing and Steele. You know what I'm saying? So there were like these gaps where you like, yo, you edited such and such out the movie and you kept this beef stew.
But I was gonna say, y'all don't remember when he's in the bed reading a newspaper about Raheem, and he acted different in front of his girl, and they get into that fight, and then she sit there and look at the newspaper, and she realized why he was the way he was, and then when they're in the hospital and Steele tells, like, they kind of did it for you, forcefully. I see what you mean. They should have been more in depth with it, but in a way, if you look at it, he was showing signs like he was telling her what was going on, but he really didn't tell her.
And also in a way, in a perfect movie, in a movie that you would really love to digest and call a classic, you would definitely want that somehow fleshed out.
Right.
But if you think about it, it kind of plays into the role of these characters. Like, he shouldn't be with her to begin with, and he's a young kid who's immature. He don't know how to handle or process things, and to handle even having an adult conversation with someone older than him that they can talk about the situation so he can have a better understanding of how he should approach things. They're young and immature. They don't even go to school.
Right,
It's
Ron,
like
Ron, but
Ron,
to
you
your
get a yellow
point,
card
though,
for taking my take.
to your point though, that's the reason why I said Rodamez and Bishop in the Alley was the perfect point for the movie to dismiss the fake villain and for him to have his monologue movie, have his moment. Like, if you remember this movie, Boys in the Hood, right? At the end of the movie, when Cube and them find the gangbangers over at the burger joint and all that stuff, right? When they jumped out the car on them dudes, right? There was a moment of reckoning right there, right? And while Cube didn't verbally say stuff, you can read his eyes that it was revenge for his brother, right? How can Rodamez he busted Blanky and dipped? You don't know what.
Well, the monologue was Riverside.
Yeah.
Riverside,
fill in the
motherfucker.
blank.
You like, yo, who's writing this stuff? Chuck, who wrote this stuff, bro?
Mr. Nose and Candy.
Basically. Basically.
Oh, talking about somebody on that booger sugar, huh?
Booger sugar.
man.
Smack.
You know, the thing that I was saying too, because of the fact that we all view Tupac's character Bishop as a sociopath, I could see how, you know, you could say that he might have been snitching because he couldn't really get to Q the way he wanted to get to Q, so he's trying to draw him out to put more heat on him by you know, getting other people on his back, forcing Q to be in a situation where he has to, you know, make moves and be out there in the streets running around. But I also kind of think because he's a sociopath, he's acting, he got no foresight, no forethought. He's acting on impulse. He does things without any repercussions. He just does it. And then later he's like, oh, okay, now I put some heat on my back. How I get this heat off me? Well, I got to say somebody else did it because I don't want them looking for me. So I think it was more of a, you know, self-preservation thing rather than necessarily trying to draw Q out. I think he just realized after the fact, oh, okay, I already took this guy out and they're going to be looking for me. So now what do I do?
He cleaning up bad decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when he did with Rodman, when he was sitting there, they were like, yo, you snitched on me? He was trying to get Rodman off the street so he could take over. But since it didn't work out and he killed Rodman, he's like, hey, maybe this is the same thing I could do to Q. I could snitch out on Q. Q comes out of position, makes the wrong move. I catch him slipping. Now I got Q. That's why I said, like, he was giving them hints, like, I can get to you. I can get to you. I can get to you.
Well, the Rodimus part, he got lucky the police pulled up and swarmed people because I don't think he was trying to set it up where Rodimus had him and his whole gang with him.
Right.
About to beat the brakes off of him, and then the police popped up and then swarmed it and scattered everything out. Like, Rodimus was never going to be by himself,
right?
Unless those weird circumstances happen.
I don't think Rodamaz was ever going to physically do nothing to him either. I think it was just that mental bullying, that harassing. You know what I'm saying? Because think about it, there were times there were so many times where if they wanted to do something to Bishop, they'd have did something to Bishop.
They were just trying to, like, yo, calm down. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, these are kids, bro.
Mm-hmm. They had many opportunities to do something to him, but they didn't. It wasn't like you said earlier, Free. Sorry, I mean to cut you off. I'm just jump in, jump out. When he was talking crazy and everything, and then when they snitched on him, remember they snatched him up again. That's when what BT was talking about earlier, when Steele and Q were coming down, and Q tapped him like, "No, we're gonna go back this way," because he was smiling like, because remember the first time all three of them came and they broke it all up. This time he think it's gonna be the same thing. This is after he'd already smoked Raheem, and Rodimus had the blade all up in his nose.
Yeah. But so let me add just real quick. Soulfinger, is that the first time? I'm gonna ask the entire panel, y'all. Is that the first time that you saw Bishop snitch?
No.
In the film, no.
When was the first time y'all saw him snitch?
I remember he snitched, but I just don't remember exactly what it was because he was moving funny before then.
Right.
I forgot what it was that he snitched about, but it was something petty. It wasn't.
So he snitched him out. He snitched out Rodamez in the police station, right?
Well, you snitched him out of the police station. Yeah, he did. He definitely.
But you know what? He snitched out Q at the DJ contest. Remember when the police was walking in?
Yeah.
And they
were up at him.
They whispered to Bishop, and Bishop turned his ass, stool pigeon ass around, and pointed straight at his man. You know what I'm saying?
Raheem's dead. Somebody shot him.
Yeah.
Right in his face.
Yeah, bro.
I got to give it up, though. That was probably the best police work that didn't lead to anything because, first off, he got shot maybe 12, 13 minutes beforehand.
Right.
And for them to go down to the actual location and get all three of them together, persons of interest.
Right.
Well, in that universe, police and news was moving fast as hell because that blizzard shooting happened.
Yeah.
and they was right on 5 o'clock news,
Yep. Yep.
right outside the spot. No police tape, no nothing. You was
No
just there.
nothing.
But y'all gotta
And what, you
remember
know what
though,
else
when
is funny
gunshots
too?
went off,
In terms of police,
the neighborhood was calling the police like, "Yo, they shooting, they shooting."
Well, no,
But
it
it,
was quiet for a while because it didn't happen right off. They was
but
they all the
but in
shooting.
reality, if 2 people get shot, there's police tape and everything. You're not even gonna
Right.
get that close.
Crime scene. Yes, the crime scene.
Yeah, like,
Right.
yeah, you're not even
And
getting
then
that close, man.
and then Chuck, here's the other thing too, right? Here's the other thing, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong. If all three of them got questioned, right? Do y'all remember when Q got questioned?
Yep.
Q,
Yeah, I think he
Q
didn't say
relatively
nothing.
kept it solid when he shouldn't
Okay, okay, okay.
have. Q was more balanced. Steel was like shook up completely.
Shook.
They was playing good cop, bad cop on him. He
Yep.
was gonna take the McDonald's. He was gonna take that Big Mac and a drink. He was waiting for it.
He
Waiting
was
for his
waiting
meal.
for it, bro.
Hey, you saw Steel sitting up in the station. He was about to shit a purple Twinkie.
Yes, yes, bro. And so there were so many. That's what I'm saying. There were so many like mixed messages. Like don't tell me Bishop is thug life, baby. I'm hopeless, smoking on endo, trying to keep my focus. And every time you see him fight, he getting his ass whooped. And then when the police get him, he's snitching. This can't be. I'm lost to.
He's using the gun as first. It's false courage. The
Right.
weapons give him false courage, and then the other parts is just self perseverance. Like he's just trying to preserve himself, his status, how he views himself in the world, and he wants to be at the top by any means.
Right.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say. He did all that so he could get rid of his competition and be the main man. But because he was so weak, he didn't go about it the right way. Enough times you even look at for example, rapper Fat Joe. Fat Joe had an issue with a guy who owed him money. He had more money on him than what the guy owed him, but he kept messing with him, and he knew the cat, and the cat was the one that did what he did to him, ran up on him and got into it with him because he kept picking on him. So it's like if you really think about it, it's always the ones that don't know how to get to the top will do anything to get to the top, and they will be the most grimiest, most softest cats. Like how you the leader when you got pushed around by such and such? Because if you notice, most guys in the neighborhood they be like, "Oh, I remember when you used to get hurt by Marcus and them. I remember when you used to get hurt," and they be like, "Shut up! Don't bring that up again, or I'm gonna have to show you who I really am." You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So for me,
It's insecurity for some, but
yeah.
like they never fully fleshed out his character, so you could find out why he was so insecure.
Hey, Chuck, I got one for Chuck. If y'all don't mind, let me and Chuck have like 45 seconds. I just want to ask Chuck this. Chuck, you at the party, you see Bishop in there with the police, about 700 people in there. They see this dude point out Q. Right, about 700 people see Bishop snitch, right? And then the neighborhood fears him because he has the juice. Now, listen, I'm from Jersey City, New Jersey, bro.
Uh-oh.
If you ever, if the streets see you snitch, you got a bounty on you, bro. You got you get ready to get it. You're not getting ready to have a real life in the streets no more. But after that moment that he snitches, the neighborhood gives Bishop all the juice. Am I missing something, bro? Or did this thing go off the rail somewhere?
you're absolutely missing some. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Now go ahead, DSJ. What you was about to say?
No, I'm sorry. No, I messed up. That was on me.
He be throwing shots at me all the time, bro.
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, back then, yes, you're absolutely right. Back then, absolutely right. That should have been the outcome. But as we can see, that's not necessarily the reality because there's been a lot of people accused and uh, actually guilty of snitching, and people streets don't have that same energy anymore. But yes, at that time, yes, you're absolutely right. That should have been. I don't know. Uh, maybe it's because okay, they knew from the word on the streets that it was actually Bishop who killed Raheem. So now they're afraid of Bishop because if he can kill his best friend, guy that was a part of his crew, what he would do to me.
Right.
I was gonna interject and say also the fact that he came in with the
Wait, BT. Let me have my moment with Chuck, bro. I mean, just let me have my moment with Chuck just real quick. I just want to just ask Chuck his opinion on this part right here. So Chuck, if the title of the movie is Juice,
Hmm.
and Bishop is the pseudo main character, because I don't know who the main character. I don't know if it's Q or if it's Bishop. That's another thing I had an issue with, right? If you see, okay, all right. So Bishop does that in front of all these people, right? Then how does nobody say anything when this dude never had to? This dude just got the juice. He's still juicing training, basically, right? It's like this dude didn't have like a 10-year track record of, like, we ain't talking about Preem, bro. We talk about Bishop. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like if he just, like, how does nobody even go? How do they not even go talk to Bishop? Like, yo, son, listen, this is not how we do it out here. You know what I'm saying? Or something.
But who was that person going to be? Was it going to be Samuel L. Jackson's character?
Probably should have been.
Okay.
What I'm thinking is and the reason why I say that, man, is because if you wrote Q's brother into the movie just to get George Gore in the movie, if you wrote Cindy from In Vogue in the movie just to have a pretty face in the movie, then why not write in something with some substance? Like this, to me, the movie misses all the mile markers on Reckoning. Like you know how there's Reckoning in every movie. Like
Right.
a movie could sometimes lose its way, but then there's a moment that puts every. Classic example: Al Pacino and my man in the diner in Heat. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
In
Mhm.
Heat, Al Pacino and Robert
Robert
De
De
Niro
Niro.
in the diner, right? A moment of reckoning. What's my man name? Doc Holliday in Heat. Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer.
When Val Kilmer is in the car and he watching the girl and he know he can't go down there. These moments of reckoning. The
Hmm.
Jews had all the mile markers where they could have had these moments of reckoning to put it back on track, and they just missed it, bro. In my opinion, and I'm thinking like maybe I'm overthinking, or maybe this movie is trash.
I think you answered the question, Freezy, but I'm letting you and Chuck have your moment.
No, go ahead, bro. I didn't mean to hijack it. I just wanted to get
No, go
his
ahead.
No,
opinion.
I hear you. I think that you already answered it when you brought up Radamez being the fake antagonist.
Right.
You know, because if Radamez is the guy, the fake bully, that
Mhm.
that not only does Q and the whole crew fear, and they only like they move together to kind of keep him off their backs, then
Right.
that means everybody else in the movie, all them kids fear Radamez as well.
Right.
And if he's the fake bully, right? And then you find out that Bishop takes out Raheem, and obviously the whole thing that happened with Radamez is already done. then they all fear Bishop. It just makes sense that they're not gonna that even though he's a snitch, they all fake. Like they ain't nobody to fear, and they don't have that type of code that you got to respect because they don't have that. They all feared Radames, and Radames was a fake bully. So I just don't. I could see it like in a different situation where we come from in real life, where we grew up. You snitching, everybody knows you snitching, and then people ain't even rocking with you.
Right.
Let alone putting a target on your back, like, but they just not even rocking with you.
Right.
So in this movie, the way they set it up, it's like none of that matters because nobody has a code and nobody even cares to follow that code.
Right.
Oh, you got the juice now. Like what? Like,
Right.
Nobody cares about that stuff.
That's-
they
that's
just like,
the
oh yeah,
juice is so
he's the
fraudulent.
boss. Huh?
That juice is so fraud. That's fraudulent juice. Soulfinger. Soulfinger. Let me ask this, Soulfinger. I just want to ask you this, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I found compelling about this movie, I think the best thing about this movie is the villain was the enemy from within.
Yeah.
See, the main character is the crew. The entire crew was followed, right? And the enemy comes from within the crew. So it's like the enemy within. There's a fake villain out here to throw you off the track, off the trail, but the real villain is us, the crew.
Yeah.
Right? Because throughout the movie, everybody did stuff to each other during the movie. Everybody. And I know, and I'm not saying that it was a movie about 4 bad people. What I'm saying is it's a movie about 4 16-year-olds that can't figure stuff out. And so they make adult mistakes as teenagers.
No, and that was a good. I like how you brought that up, Freeze, because it was the enemy within. Because when you look back, like I said, looking at it in the eyes when you're in your 20s, versus looking at it as you are older to be able to look at things. Let's bump talking about the production and all like that. Let's talk about the story itself. You were thinking Radames was going to be the issue in the beginning of the movie. How he's coming at one of their boys.
Right.
But it turns out, like you said, it's the enemy within.
Right.
And he was popping his, when he popped his own boy. But the thing is when he broke it down, he told him, I don't give a damn about none of you. Hell, I don't care about myself.
Right.
I'm going to die. So I'm ready to, basically, I'm ready to die.
Right.
I'll kill any one of you. But he already proved that. Then on top of that, what he did to when he went to the funeral and how his whole thing. Hold on, my dog acting a fool right now, so I'm a mute because we have all that background, my Cujo going off.
Well,
Can I just say something real quick?
Oh, go ahead,
bro.
BT.
I was gonna say after what you guys said about the police scene, I see it. But before that, when I was watching it, I thought that when the cops came, Pac was only talking to Q. And everybody that was there at the party kept their mouth shut because they thought the cops were there for Pac. So they didn't even look like they was going to go and get the whole crew. They just thought that the cops were coming to pick him up for killing Rodman and also Rakim. That's why they stayed quiet, because nobody's going to really talk. So for me, when I saw it, I thought that they were all going to come there just for Pac. And everybody was just witnessing. That's why I was like,
Nah, man, because what's the name pointed him out, and the detective called him down out of the booth. Q had to walk through a crowd to get to the detective.
Okay, like I said, I just thought that it looked, the way I remembered was it looked like the cops were gonna come up just for Pac, but then Q he called them out, and then everybody's like, what? Like they were more surprised, like, oh shit, Q's next. So they were like just sitting back, like, let's see what happens, because we don't want to be that guy. Because like you said, like Ron said, Rodamans was the guy that kept everyone in line. But then now he gone, who gonna keep him in line, because he already killed one of his boys. Now he got Q as the next. So
no, Raheem was the one that kept everybody in line.
I mean Raheem, my fault. Raheem was the one that got killed. And then he's like, yo, let's see if it works out between Q and no. Because, like I said, I just thought that it was different. Like everybody was looking like in surprise, like, oh shit, like the cops is here for Pac. But then when Pac pointed him out,
and then was like, yo, somebody's killed Raheem. That's when it was like, oh snap. That's when you realized that it was Pac that snitched on him. But what I remember is Pac was whispering it to, like, he only said it to Q, even though he pointed him out. So everybody just stood in awe, like, damn, he's setting up his own boy.
Okay.
That could be. But I was going to say the other thing for further proving my point too was that little section of that area where they went to school and they partied. All them kids was just partying. They wasn't really getting into anything. And the movie set it up so that they made it seem like the only person to fear in the whole movie was Radames, right? And then we saw how that whole interaction happened. But the other thing I was going to say is when it came to violence, outside of what Bishop was doing, because Freezy already proved the point, Radames didn't do anything. That crew they terrorized people, but they didn't really physically do anything too crazy. Right. The only physical action that happened outside of Bishop was the cops killing Blizzard. But there was nobody else to fear. So Bishop taking that stand and acting crazy is enough to shake up that whole section. They ain't gonna say nothing.
Right. I just find it, I just find it. Listen, the streets be talking, bro. People say that we have a strict no snitch policy, bro. You want to find out anything, bro? The streets know everything.
The streets will tell you. Yeah, somebody in the streets
know everything, bro. Don't tell nobody I told you this, but the streets be talking, bro. And it's everywhere. It don't matter if you live on the 8th floor in Harlem or if you live on a dirt road in Doretta. It don't matter. You know what I'm saying? People talk, bro. Like they share stuff, right? And that's the reason why I think Sweets on site gave the you know what I'm saying, the Roscoe to Q
to
because he had already heard about all this stuff going on, right? She had to know. She in the gambling spot. She got everything in it. You know she. Man,
she is place like person like that. Freeze, my bad, Freeze. I didn't cut you off. But a person like that gets all the information. It comes. She gets more. Sweets got more information than what Samuel Jackson was getting. He gets information, but he wasn't getting on the level that Sweets get it.
Right.
Because of all the people she deal with.
All right. So let me do just one real quick thing. I want to kind of transition a little bit. I want to talk about the ending, and then I want to talk about the R&B ish, hip hop ish, New Jack Swing ish movie soundtrack. If y'all don't mind, if y'all got like 20 minutes, maybe. I just want to say this: the ending was whack. Right,
man, Freezer, that was one of the greatest endings ever. What are you talking about, Freezer?
It's all right now.
I'm saying that
you got the juice, man.
Yeah, I'm saying the ending is whack because you got to see certain people die, right? And then you got to see one character in the movie get his brains blown out, but he come back with a shoulder with a flesh wound in his shoulder. And still, the Bishop was pointing dead in that man's forehead, and then he climbing out the thing with a shoulder wound.
Mm-hmm.
So when Bishop falls into that dark alley, into the darkness, I don't even think Bishop died. The ending was, there was not a believable death. And the 90s was infamous for the two people tugging on a gun. One person gets shot. Both of them faked like, what happened?
Who got shot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the 90s is infamous for that. Could we even have gotten that?
Well, my thing is, Freeze, you talking about the ending, man. Look, that man, when he said you got the juice, all that they were missing was how it was with the Transformers back in the day. You got the touch, you got the power, the whole thing. You got the juice.
Right. I just, you have to have clear reckoning in movies that are compelling. Like if it's just a comedy, you don't need clear mile markers for compelling, because it's just everybody telling jokes. But if it's a thriller like this was, or supposedly, you got to establish who the hero is, who the protagonist is, who the antagonist is, and you have to give us results on what happens. Because when you look back at the movie, right? When you look back at the movie, I don't know who the protagonist is now. Am I rooting for Q? No, right? Because Q, and I know it's gonna sound bad, but Q and Steel are accessories to murder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the store and in the alley, right?
They get
Yeah,
hit with
multiple
conspiracies
counts.
and Ricos because they're in a gang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bro. So it's like these lines. It's so many blurred. Like, what happens to the nurse, right? Why is it important for her to be in the movie? Like, she wasn't there on the street. You know how the Hollywood ending, like Q will hop off, will drag itself off the thing, and then the nurse will be there to hug, and then they play the ending music and all that. You didn't get that, right? You Raheem's family got no closure,
Yeah, none.
right? Radamez's crew did not chase Bishop once Radamez got killed. If you notice, when Radamez got killed, the crew just vanished. They were written out the story, right?
Yeah,
So you
that was
got all these loose ends, bro. And then, so I could live with all of that stuff. Maybe they wasn't important enough. But Bishop, the guy that you wanted us to kind of root for in a Darth Vader type way, he falls off the thing. And here's the thing here, Chuck. When he was hanging off the thing, Q was still trying to save him. Bishop was like, yo, don't let me go. Don't let me go. He falls, right? Bishop turns around. I mean, I'm not Bishop, but Q, after he dropped my man, and you know what I'm saying, in the dark alley, you know what I'm saying? He turns around, just walk back, and the dude was like, "Hey, brother, you got the juice now."
The worst part in any movie. That's one of the worst parts in any movie. They definitely should have someone should have said, listen, okay, let's see how we're going to end this. All right, Bishop falls. Okay, I don't know if I like that. Whatever. Right. Yo, you got the juice now. Yo, cut
It's
that
like
out the movie
that
right
most
this minute.
Traumatic experience, and you like, damn, you just killed somebody. Oh, you got the juice now, brother. Like 5 seconds after you just killed somebody.
Right.
Yeah, because okay. From what I'm
The
a
only
little bit young.
hold on, BT. The only character in that movie that would have taken that in stride is Bishop. That's the only person that would have been like, yeah, I got the juice after killing someone I knew since the second grade. Like,
the only one
that's
wanted the juice.
You could have easily said, yo, shut the hell up, man. Like, and I wouldn't have been mad at him. Like, yo, what?
Y'all right
Dumbness.
with all of that because it was bad, but like if you see how his face was after he heard that, you can see his like a little bit of a hesitation, and he just shakes his head and walks off like nothing happened. Right. So like with all that, like you said, accessory to murders, accessory to committing a crime of a robbery, knowing all of that. To me, it was like they should have had it after he heard you got the juice. It should have been more in depth of him transitioning to see if he's gonna turn out to be like Tupac or is he gonna go his own way. And they just ended it right there. That's where it was like, what? You just gonna end it like that? So for me, I agree with y'all. The ending sucked because
man, that was the perfect ending.
Nah, they should have had it to where he realized because he killed it. He just killed the man that had two people. He just killed two people, and he was attempting murder on his best friend.
3 people.
I'm talking about
three people.
Excuse me.
He killed 3 people,
Yeah.
and it was the perfect ending, man. How could it just kill a man? He told you he didn't care.
Right.
Because he got the juice.
There you go.
He wasn't like that. That's the whole thing. Because throughout the whole movie, he was just a dude trying to hang on his own. He didn't have none of that gangster side. Yeah, he defended himself. But technically, he didn't even really kill Tupac. He was defending himself from Pac killing him because they were fighting. And you see what I'm saying? So for me, if they had that transition to where he realized, oh shit, this is what it is to be the king, then you see him like walk off in the shadows like they did back in the 90s, and then ended. It would have left you with more something like, okay, but it didn't even do that. It just was, you got the juice, and it's like, what? That's it? It was one of the worst endings for me, man.
Right, well, let me.
Even the oh no, I'm sorry for you. I was going to say even the alternate ending is trash. The alternate ending, instead of what happened where Q's trying to save him, was supposed to be Q's holding on to Bishop's hand, and Bishop hears the cops coming and lets go of the hand because he don't want to go. He don't want to go to jail.
Right.
It's like whatever.
But it's still yeah. But let me ask you guys this. After having this conversation, and I just want y'all to go one at a time, man. Just one at a time, so that we can get a clear view on everybody's stance, right? After we had this conversation, right? Do you still view this movie the same after having the discussion? And on a scale of 1 to 10, for hood classics, where do you rate this movie? Dre, if you can go first.
I was always lukewarm on the movie to begin with.
Okay.
Like I the thing that makes the movie stand out to other people as it being a cult classic is because it's, I think, is it not one of the first like hip hop culture movies to make it to the box office, to be on a big screen, and then the music and the stuff, that the underlying things that make a film, like it sticks to you culturally because you saw hip hop in its adolescent stage, and the actors in that movie are basically adolescents, like the whole thing. So it never really stuck to me as that because I never came up in that era. So I didn't have like the fond memories. I had to come out and look at it in the most objective way possible.
Okay.
I thought it was entertaining. Some of it was cartoonish and comical, but like I try to use like the lens of, okay, this is probably one of the first films that had an all hip hop soundtrack, all hip hop / R&B soundtrack,
right,
and was targeted for a specific demographic that never really existed, that never had buying power up until the early 90s.
Right.
Like people who loved hip hop were usually children and younger people, and then they had the buying power in the early 90s, and they started getting older, and so I had to view it as like they didn't really have a means to have all the fixes, have the greatest writers, have the greatest special effects, have the cutaways that make sense.
Yeah, the budget was $5 million.
Yeah, it was nothing. So when I take it into that account and like viewing it and comparing it to like other classics
that came out in the same era, so movies that came out right before this movie: New Jack City in the spring, Boys in the Hood in the summer, and then Juice the very next year, and they came out right before Menace to Society.
Right. I'd give it like a 6.5 at best.
Okay.
Out of 10, if I had to rate it, because these other movies, they just had better staying power to me. At least when I come back and view them, and I try to put myself in the positions of guys like you guys that experienced this as it was happening, as the culture was shifting. You were outside when it was hot outside. Kids were actually outside and like enjoying it and feeling the music, and like the culture just felt different. At least when you people explain it, right? And comparing it to now, if a movie dropped now, it's not really the same. You don't ingest what's going on in the same ways that you did back then. Everything is just so microwave now. So it's harder to have the same perspective when it's movies like that. So when I'm looking at it from like a bird's eye view, I take it in as like a 6.5, because the other movies just have better writing or better presentation. It's just more logical things going around, and then
better actors, better producers, better directors.
Yeah, and they hit the emotional aspects better. Like when things happen in Boys in the Hood, you actually felt it,
right?
Because you actually had stories in your life that you've been able to see play out. Granted, even though it was on the West Coast, they're the differences between like black cultures is there's just a lot we have in common no matter where we grow up.
Right.
There's a lot of overlap. So you can see like when you see someone in your neighborhood or what have you pass and they die when they were supposed to have a promising future. We've all seen
Right.
things like that happen in our lives. Whereas Juice never really indulged much beyond this kid wanted to be like a renowned DJ. And they never really went as far as they could have went with that.
Right. Right.
So it was harder for them to tug on your heartstrings. Like things just happened and you're just like, oh damn, you didn't even give me a build up for me to care about these characters.
Right. Right. So,
But
hey,
yeah. Bully got a mute. Peace, Bully.
hey, Bully, we can't hear you, bro.
People, I love you, man.
Yeah, man, no doubt, man. Hey, much love, brother. It look like y'all partying.
We are here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we calling it, baby. I know y'all talking about Juice and everything, but I have
Can barely hear, boss.
Hey, yeah, we can't hear you. We can't understand you, bro.
You might have to. We can't really hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
And you gonna have to text them, Freezy. Say
Yeah,
you can't hear you.
I'm about to
I know. I just want to say this up to my Uncle Freezy. Everybody back there, Dre, you my dude. Yo, soul figure.
Salute, Boulevard. Salute, man.
Hey, hey, Bully, I gotta put you backstage. I'm gonna call you. Hey, hold. Okay. Hey, we can't understand you, bro. You got background stuff going on. We can't hear you.
Yeah, just text them, Freezy. Well, I'm gonna text them actually.
Okay.
Oh, you got it.
All right, I'm out. I'm gonna call you back.
Okay. All right, boss. All right. DSJ.
Yeah.
DSJ. Hey,
Are you ready?
That was our guy. Bully. Man, much love the Bully, man. So DSJ, after watching the movie and then having this conversation, how do you rank this movie?
Are you ready for my takes?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
DSJ giving it 10s across the board.
First
he
off,
told me he loves the ending.
6. I agree 1,000,000% with Dre on the rating. It's the same rating I was gonna have beforehand. I said 6.5, 6 to 6.5. So let me get that out the way first. I don't know why. The only thing that was wrong with the ending was after homie that ended up with the gun that killed all those people, who is now going to take the fall for that, told Q that you got the juice now. Because remember that scuffle that they had in the apartment? That gun hit the floor, slid over to him, and he picked it up.
Right.
So when he got the juice now, was the thing that he told Q. What would have made the ending perfect was if Q pulled out a Capri Sun, stuck the straw in it, slurped it while he was looking at him, and then threw it at his feet. That's the perfect ending when you talk about juice.
That's the only kind of juice. That's the only kind of juice you can do in that.
Strawberry kiwi flavored.
The one that looked like water in a yellow
straw.
So
that's the ending. Okay. Secondly, Radames could not have been the villain because he was a Dominican, and there's no such thing as a Dominican gang when you in the Bronx. So him dealing with all them people, and then having to commit to being a part of a gang when you had a Cuban, a dark-skinned Dominican, a light-skinned Dominican, and obsolete. Just pick any flavor. I guess he could have been Colombian, and all of y'all had to compete with the Nietas and the Puerto Rican gangs. You lucky to have 4 guys in there. So he already automatically was never going to be a real threat. Again, when it comes down to old girl, when it comes down to Charlene, you trifling. Because you sat here talking about all the things you wanted to do with your life. You didn't want to have your baby hanging out with his sorry friends, but here you are dealing with a dope dealer in special ed.
How you know he was a dope boy?
Oh man, listen, because of the fact that he had a car at the same age, he's the same age as Raheem.
Him and Raheem look alike too, by the way.
I was just about to say that they look like they could have been cousins,
Right.
and that wouldn't have been far fetched either. That she would have been out there dealing with a family member. She looks like that type.
But Ed told you he had it made because he was the youngest in charge,
And
and he was
magnificent.
he's in the magnificent, and that whole situation to get her, he was on a mission.
And
So he already snitched on himself.
He not from Harlem, bro. He from Brooklyn. He a Crooklyn Dodger. That's how they do, right?
Yeah.
And he was just gonna tell her he was showing it was time, give her some action. She wanted action.
Yeah.
So we got that going on. Again, Q's problem throughout this whole situation was you committed to a 30-year-old, and she clearly would put you on blast if need be, because look at what she did while Frank was in the house. She willing to pull out his heart boxes in front of Q.
That's cold.
Ain't no telling what she'll do.
At least they was clean though.
They were very clean, which means that they weren't worn. So here's the problem I have with that. She's gonna go younger because now that Q's a man and he got the juice now, she's no longer viable to her resurgent in youth. So now,
even if she make good chicken and broccoli, that was looking good on the table. I'm not gonna hold you.
it was looking absolutely amazing. But I saw the carton of Chinese food in the trash can, so she gets no points for ordering takeout. But I am worried for Q's younger brother, because he's the next one up, and then she's gonna be at least 45 years old, looking at him, talking about, "Oh, that's a snack,"
and he gonna have the juice.
Scared to death for him. Yeah, he's really gonna have the juice. We're talking about a bunch of them things. We're talking about the high C's that come in the 3-pack.
In the party pack. Oh yeah, he
Juice by
got
blood, not relation.
Absolutely. Still clearly was fast enough to jump, and instead of getting shot in the head, got shot in the shoulder trying to evade the bullet. He should have ducked instead of jumped.
I have no idea how he didn't bleed out, but cool.
Silly you, right?
because his blood was thicker than ragu. You saw that.
And through all of that, I just feel like Uncle Freezy just doesn't like hood classics. Uncle Freezy has poo-pooed on this.
He poo-pooed on gang. He poo-pooed on Boys in the Hood.
He hates Boys in the Hood. Thinks Menace Society is a joke. Doesn't like Cornbread Earl and Me. Thinks Cooley High was a waste of money.
I know this ain't a hood movie, but I wonder if you could do one for Candyman, like a review for Candyman.
Well, it's
you weren't a Candyman guy, Freezy? Damn.
No, not really. But Ron, did you get a chance to answer? Ron, did you get a chance to?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. Because I'm interested in hearing y'all opinion if you still think about it the same after we had the conversation.
Yeah. This is why I kind of try to. Honestly, I do this a lot with movies that I watched when I was young. I just don't watch them again. I really don't. Right. Because I'm like, I'm gonna look at them a certain way. I mean, that's just how it is. Like, you like a movie for whatever reason, like a Maniac Cop. Maniac Cop scared the bejesus out of me when I was a kid. I'll never watch that movie again. I'll watch that movie and now I'll probably be laughing at it from the beginning to the end. So like watching Shocker. Like I can't watch Shocker again.
No,
Hey, when those lips popped up, he said, "Give it to me." And those big old lips came up and said, "Give it." He said, "I'm gonna give it to you, baby."
I can't watch that stuff now. Like
Shocker was fantastic.
I'll say this, Raheem's sister was fine though.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
yes, he
yes,
was.
yes, yes,
She
yes.
was.
That's a fact. When I watched the movie when I was a young kid, shoot, I don't even remember how old I was when it came out, but
He was the same age as Omar Epps.
yeah, probably. So, when I watched it, I was hooked because I was a young kid and I just fell into the characters. Maybe because I didn't have any brothers or sisters, whatever, but I did have a group of friends and it was four of us. So maybe I kind of saw something in the four of them but we wasn't like that. And
Right.
we was cool for each other. Like it wasn't that type of craziness, but like I don't know. I just thought the Raheem thing got to me, and I may disagree with Freezy a little bit on not that it was more of, to me it's the writing, not the acting of Tupac in that locker room in the locker scene, because that locker scene was terrifying to me
Okay.
at that time when I was a young kid watching it.
Okay.
And when he
like, this is
popped
supposed
up
to be my-
behind the locker,
Yeah, I was like, oh, what the hell is going on here? That's supposed to be my boy. And he's like, yeah, I ain't shit. And I ain't never going to be shit. And when I decide you ain't going to be shit, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah, see, that
Right.
was a tense moment. That was tense,
Right.
and I do like. To me, I think Tupac played that really well, because it was like he easily tapped into something that was him.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
because he didn't really play that. That was just him.
That was
Yeah.
that's
To
what
a certain
I took
point.
it as. That was him to a
Yeah,
degree.
yeah. He did that way too well. That wasn't even acting for him. If he could shoot at
Yeah.
cops in the real life, yeah, okay, Tupac. Anyway, but
Get the
but
whip
at that
behind
time,
your
so,
back and the whip, partner.
so I'm
Yo.
gonna say at the time I watched it, I thought it was like an 8 or 9, right?
Okay.
Because I was young. As an adult watching it, because I have seen it maybe about I don't know 10 years ago, and I
Right.
cut it off right before Raheem dies. There's no more movie for me at that point. I don't
Right.
watch it. I would say it's like I'm with you guys. It's like a 6 for me. It's not a good movie. It really isn't.
Right.
But that's how it is, man. That's why that whole line about be careful. Don't meet your heroes and stuff. Well, when it comes to movies, don't watch movies you loved as a kid as an
Right.
adult. It just don't
think-
work out.
I think the thing like Freezy, when he saw it, he pulled himself out of it, even though he was a huge hip hop fan.
Right.
Like you viewed it objective at the time, but like everything surrounding the movie, probably the soundtrack, there being singles and music videos for it,
Right.
it helped heighten like its its view and helped build the hype. And then there's like you have probably personal experiences and memories tied to the movie or around that era of the movie or that time space.
Right.
So you remember certain things. Oh, I used to party over here, and this reminded me of this particular person.
Right.
Or the film was shot in an area that you knew people at. Oh, I got family over in that area, so I have a specific kind of tie to it. Whereas me, I'm like viewing it all the way out from an Eagles view.
I didn't
'Cause
like
I
it when
didn't-
I didn't like it when
You
I
didn't
saw the
like
movie.
it, but I'm saying I'm
And-
talking
and-
about like when people that did when
But I'm
they
saying,
saw
but
it, like,
I'm clarifying my stance. The reason why I didn't like it
yeah.
is because at the time I was into the native tongue movement. Right. There was,
Oh.
you know what I'm saying? So it kind of was going against,
It was the complete opposite.
yeah, of what I was feeling at the time. Right.
Yeah.
So, my bad, Ron. So Finger.
No,
you-
I'm good. I'm done. And I was just gonna say I just checked. So that movie came out in 91, and I graduated like high school was 96.
Okay.
So I was 17.
Ooh,
so I was
man.
12 years old when Juice came
Wait a
out.
minute.
Of course, I was
Oh, Lord.
terrified. Crazy Bishop had me shook.
Right. So Finger. So after having a conversation, bro, do you still feel the same about the movie, or do you rate it differently?
No, I mean, look, when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's all right. I like the soundtrack. And for me, at the time, here I was, because, I was out here on a date. So I was, 19, 20. So it was a different way for me to look at it, because here it is, during that time to see all these black faces, people, these these people of color on a screen like this. That was the hype thing about it. That was the thing that got me. That made it good for me.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Especially at that time. Overall, when I watched it, I was like, it could have been better. I still looked at it as I was giving it maybe 5, 6 then.
Okay.
Even back then, I didn't look at it like, oh man, I gotta see this because I didn't. When I watched it this last time was probably the second time I watched it all the way through, bits and pieces. I was like, Ron, I didn't like the fact that he smoked his man because I was like, oh, that's cold blooded right there, man. That's a dirty.
Right.
That cat dirty. He filthy. He
Right.
filthy McNasty.
Right.
Doing his homeboy like that. A lot of it didn't just kind of jive for me either. And like I said, man, the greatest ending of a movie I've ever seen. You got the juice. So
Wow.
that's the greatest ending ever, man. You got the juice.
That ending was worse than Independence Day ending, bro.
Man. So
Nah, Independence Day was really bad.
I mean,
Oh
it was
my
just kind of like those Z-rated movies when at the end the monster's still alive and it jumps out and then it goes off like that. You're like, man, you do it, or just some kind of stupid. They just didn't know what to do with the ending, man. And for me, the scene where when they were fighting and Q was holding Bishop, he was, if I'm not mistaken, Freeze, and I had to go back and look, he was holding him with his arm. He got shot with. He
In
got
the
shot
shot
in.
arm, yes.
He was holding with his shot in the shot arm. So I'm like, hold on, man.
And now, mind you, he caught Bishop. He caught his hand, by the way,
Yeah.
with the shot arm, and then held on to him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But the way he fell, though, when he let him go, he was like, Q. I don't know if you remember this movie in Better Off Dead with the kid with the $2.
I want
The kid-
$2.
Yeah. So it's a scene real quick. You hadn't seen it. The whole gist of his kids trying to get his money for his milk for his paper route. Cat owed him $2, but he was riding. They were in the snow and he had a bike with skis on it. But he flew off a cliff and he like $2.
Right.
Well, that's how Pac sound falling off. Q.
Right.
He fell off like that. So
They didn't even show the body fall. It was just darkness, and I know
It's
damn
just
well it's not
darkness.
that dark down there, man. Stop.
Yeah, it made it seem like it.
He fell into a black hole.
Yeah. And during that time, you did have Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood and New Jack City. The way those movies came out, and it was kind of like the same. You had New Jack City dealing with the drugs and all like that, and everything, and Menace to Society, because Menace to Society came out after Juice, and you see some of the same elements in it.
Right.
But for me, like I said, it goes back to it. I like to see it was, at the time, Special Ed. It was because when that came out, he was on his second album.
Yeah.
Dropped the second album. So you seen and I remember watching it, and they showed Special Ed. You see Ed. Only thing he did, people were going crazy looking at Ed hop in the Jetta, look around, and do a U-turn and drive off.
Yeah.
People were hyped off that. So that tell you during the time how it was.
True.
And
Cameos always do that, man.
Cameos. EPMD sitting up in there. You have Fab Five Freddy, Dr. Dre, Ed Love all up in there. So it was kind of like the movie was just packed full of faces. Because you say, oh, there go Tretch. And you had, like I said, when I went, the movie was sold out, it was packed. And you saw Tretch, girls going crazy in there over Tretch. And the only thing Tretch was doing was mean mugging, standing there, moving side to side.
Terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. I mean, but for me,
so would you give it? You said you give it a 8.
I give the ending, I give the ending double bar doo-doo.
Wow.
I'm just
I bet
saying.
the Capri Sun would have saved it, wouldn't it?
Man, no, man, it had to be juicy juice. So you can't have Capri Sun. If you're gonna say it's juice, you either break it with the jungle juice or the juicy juice. And then he dropped it on him like that. But no, to me the movie was I give it a 6, and only I give it a 6 because of for the time, it was the resurgence of black movies or movies. That's what it was. Well, I give it that, but
Okay.
it's still the same. It didn't really move the needle much for me.
Okay.
It wasn't a movie that I was like, oh, is a classic for me, because that was it. When I watched it the before when we were talking about doing it, Freeze, that was the first time I watched it in I don't know how many years.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
BT.
Yeah.
After. Okay.
Nah, I got you. I was just gonna, because I know we probably pressed for time, but the whole falling into the darkness, to me, that was a subliminal message that you do some dirt, the darkness is gonna get you. You know what I'm saying? Like saying you do some stuff, something's gonna get you, and you're gonna get swallowed by darkness, which symbolize like hell. But with the other three movies, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, Jersey Drive, those three movies had a story behind it that was better than Juice. What actually saved Juice now, after talking to you guys, it was the hip hop era. It was New York where hip hop originated and the flavor and the style. So that really saved the movie. Yeah, it had its moments to where 1 minute, like with Bishop at the locker, you're like, damn, that scared me. And then you have another moment where you're like, what is this doing here? So after talking to you guys, the way I look at it is all the other movies that came out, they all had black actors. That's a good thing. But the only thing that really saved this movie was the fact that it was a hip hop era. It's really the only movie that had the whole DJ scene. Like I said, I wish that they had done more of that because
Right.
I had family that DJ. So for me, watching it as a kid and then watching it as an adult, it's trash. But the way it shows was the beginning of something that could have been better. Like if they came out with I don't know, like if they had like another part to it, it would have probably saved the first movie. But for me, and when I first watched it, I gave it like an 8 because I'm from the city and all of that, and I was big on it. Then as I got older and started to see how people just kept tending to it, I was like, it's not really that good. And then hearing what you guys are saying about it, I pretty much give it a 5 because I'm supporting the black youth and the coming of age type story. But for me, I think Jersey Drive was a lot better because when you watch everything, that movie to me got me more like, damn. Because all the other ones, somebody died, someone got lit, and it's like, for me, I just felt like Juice needed more. The acting was bad, certain scenes was good, but when I look at it now, it's like, what was I really watching as a kid? What made it so good? And it was really the hype. So for me right now, I give it a 5, but
Okay.
before it was a 7.
Okay. I'm gonna just say it like this, bro. I think the movie had potential in the hands of a better director. I think you're talking about potential all-time classic, not just hood classic.
Yeah, the John Singleton.
Yeah, John Singleton. This movie is a classic.
Or the brothers, the Hughes brothers.
Yeah.
With this group, I think they screwed it up. And then I was thinking if you could remake the movie and sew up all the plot holes and pitfalls and non moments of reckoning in it, if you could just redo it over and fix all the mistakes in it, because the mistakes are not the actors' mistakes. The mistakes are the production and director's mistakes, right? So if you could do it over and just get better actors, like, man, if you can get Jonathan Majors to be Bishop or somebody like that, and you know what I'm saying, and have Idris Elba be Samuel L. Jackson's character or something like that. Now you're talking. But I just want to just quickly move into the soundtrack really quick.
Before you do that, Freezy, could I just say one real quick thing? Like, what if they would have taken this movie, like kept a lot of the core and the guts of the movie and changed the direction of the movie and how the actual story turns out and what it's about? Like what? Because I just thought about it when BT was talking. What if the movie would have still had everything that happened with the dynamic between the school and everything that took place early in the movie, the whole Radames thing, all that stuff, right? It could have even been everything else. Even the Blizzard stuff could have been in the movie.
Right.
What if they made the key part of this movie Radames? I mean, not the Radames stuff, but like Raheem dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raheem dying, not by Bishop's hands, but maybe by Radamez or something else happening. Then
Right.
Bishop, not liking how everything's happening, feeling like his crew is soft, and watching one of their boys get killed by these people,
Right.
and then him wind up changing, still with the switch, still turning, right, but not necessarily going against his crew, against Q and Steel, or killing Raheem, maybe doing something going against
Boys in the
Radamez or
Hood.
whatever.
Like
Yeah,
Boys in the Hood.
going against Radamez or something like that, and then maybe Bishop gets plucked off some other way, like robbing something or whatever. He goes out, and the same thing that triggered him with Blizzard happens to be his fate, right?
Right.
And then, but the key premise is that it's about Q and his DJing and him coming out of all of this turmoil and becoming, a really good DJ, well renowned, and that's the story. That's the ending.
See,
like that,
and that would have
changing
been
it.
see now that run. See, if they needed you. Granted, you were, you was a little fella at the time.
I was 12, but
now, but it was 12. So that would have been a better ending instead of you got the juice.
Yeah. Whatever.
I just feel it was rushed.
Come on, Ron, you was 12 weeks into 17.
Now
Yeah,
we
because
know.
if
We know
they
who got the
did
juice
more
now.
DJ, they did more DJing. They took time to actually get in depth with the story. But like I said, I just felt like it was rushed. Like they just cut out a lot of scenes, because I actually think that there's more of the movie, and they just did it like during editing and cut it out, because there's a lot of stuff that they left open. Like, for example, what happened at the end with, like you said, the hospital scene, or what happened with the chick, Jimenez's relationship with the chick, what happened with the record store, did they get reported? Because you know what I'm saying, there's so many different stories that was just left open to make you imagine. So for me, with due to cheap budgeting, if they redid it, and they redid it with the same thing, but Rodman being the bad boy, he actually doing the killing. But then this time, everything turns into turmoil, and they keep the killing from within. It would have been a better story. And plus, I want to know what happened to Q, because he was a DJ. What he gonna do now?
He going to prison, bro. That's New York.
But he got the juice.
Yeah, he really gonna have the juice late night.
Ain't nobody gonna rat Q out. He got the juice, exactly. Ain't nobody saying nothing.
Not gonna do nothing to him. He ain't gonna. Hey, you won't see Q in the cell with Fleece Johnson.
My fault, Freezy. Go ahead, man. You was gonna talk about the soundtrack.
Yeah, no, I'm texting Bully right quick, man. Bully hit me up just really quick. I just want to explain.
When you talk about the soundtrack and everything, even with the when they were putting it out, the poster, if you look at how everything's set, it shows you kind of like, because if you look at it, you got Pac in the front with the little snub nose with Omar and or the character. You got Bishop, Q, and then Raheem, and then even though Raheem he dies, it's still back of the bus. So the cover along on the soundtrack kind of gives you an idea of what you may be getting into or rolling into. You know what I'm saying?
But I like Raheem's pose though, because it looks like he's looking for hope. Like you can see it in his face, like he's stressed out as a teenager and he going through something. Like he's not really there. Like, because if you look at I forget the big kid. I keep forgetting his name.
Who, Steel?
Yeah, Steel. You see Steel just look like he just walking around the corner. And then you look at it like Pac, the main, you know what I'm saying? The beef is between Pac and Omar Epps. But for me, I like how he's standing there just looking for hope. It look like he's desperate for something. Like he see a way out in the hood, but it's cloudy. That's why I like him being in the back behind Q. I like the cover, but it just made it look like it was all about Pac. And
Q,
the way
Q,
Pac
I mean,
grew up,
it was the way Steel was making food that was like colon cleansers.
Yes. I bet you they was farting all over the set, bro. That dude poured. How you gonna pour?
What is wrong with you?
You pouring Old Gold in your eggs, bro?
Yeah.
You pouring Old English into scrambled eggs, bro?
They put a little St. Ives in it, man.
St. Ives, yeah.
Oh, that was St. Ives. Yeah, you want St. Ives?
See, the thing is, they were kind of going over the top.
Oh,
yeah, St. Ives hot sauce. That was going over the top on, those like little things that was going over the top.
But he fat though. Fat people do shit like that though.
If he was putting hot sauce all over the place. No, I
Yeah,
get
but
that.
listen, don't sleep on Steel. You know, he had them tripping out there doing the oochie coochie. Yeah, you don't.
Hey, yo, and Soulfinger, just real quick before I move to the soundtrack, right? When they was talking, when my man was going through that part, I was thinking about Choo Choo, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one. But anyway, let me get to the soundtrack just real quick. I want to ask you guys, when you hear a soundtrack, do you like having a title track that gets played multiple times during the movie, or are you like a soundtrack that features one song that's going to be dope and then the other songs are complimentary, or do you like a balance throughout the movie?
I prefer a balance throughout the movie.
Okay.
I think I like a
Same.
balance as well, unless it's the Last American Virgin. That's different. Because the James
Depends on the
Ingram,
movie.
they repeated them songs. Like I was rocking with it though.
What's the movie we did? The Spike Lee joint.
Do the right
Let
thing.
It Loose.
Do the right thing.
No, Do the Right Thing. They played Fight the Power a bunch of times,
Mm.
and it seemed like every time they played it, it was like spot on. Like this is the exact song I need to hear.
It's superhero music, man.
Yeah.
I think I like it. I like it where you go out and buy. Like back then, I liked it when you would go out and buy the soundtrack and hear stuff that you didn't hear in the movie. They'd be like, "Yo, this is a dope ass soundtrack." But
Yeah.
now, I like the balance because some of the music, if you hear it when they play it in the movie, if they play it at the right time, you're like, "Ooh, this is a good song." And then
Yeah.
sometimes it gets overplayed, like the Spike Lee, like you said. To me, "Fight the Power" was too much. Like when he's standing there, he's like, "I got this ring for this. I got this ring." Like I ain't need to hear all of that. But if it had like a balance, and then the soundtrack still has other songs that made me go out and buy it, that's what I like about movies with soundtracks.
Like,
yeah,
but-
it seemed like the film, like they spent 30% on the budget on the soundtrack.
on the soundtrack, I was thinking like 40%, bro. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dre, that's
because
a great point, Dre. That's a great analysis, bro.
that's you right about that, Drake. Because I'm gonna tell you what was the perfect song for the perfect moment was when Bishop was walking down the street and you heard and they were playing that Too Short. So you want to be a
Be a
gangster.
gangster.
Yeah.
That was perfect. Oh,
Yeah.
hey, that
Yeah.
was now that
Whoever
was on
did the
point.
score for that movie was spot on right there. Right? Whoever the score person is that matches the music with the moments, spot on right there. Just like when they threw the trash can through Sal's pizzeria window, and then you hear the little scratching, fight the chick, and Fight the Power come on,
Yeah,
and you like, oh yeah, you already know.
the energy
But-
changed.
But when I listen to the soundtrack now, I don't know if the soundtrack appeals to me like it did when I first heard it.
Individual songs on it is fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that Aaron Hall, Don't Be Afraid.
Don't be
Yeah.
afraid. Yeah. That's that. You know that cool
No,
slick
no the
remix.
ledge.
Yeah.
Hey, that's my favorite song on the soundtrack.
No the Ledge.
Shout out to Ala Wise. He knows why the show is called Know the Ledge. But anyway,
Yeah, man.
You know that
No, the
the
Ledge is
Too
fire.
Short joint I was telling you about, and
Wanna Be a
then you got
Gangster. They had a couple Cypress Hill joints on there,
Cypress Hill was on there. Shoot 'em up.
Yeah, I like Cypress
which
Hill, bro.
which I did like
They
that
put on a
they
good concert too. If you never seen them, not to hijack it, they just left Dago last week. Song with the San Diego Orchestra was pretty. It was on time. It was on point. It was a
they
good
from
show.
an era where you had to perform well. Now
Yeah,
you don't
literally.
have to.
And that's the era of voices too, by the way.
Yeah.
My man
like
voice is-
distinct
Auto-tune.
distinct voices. Yeah.
Yep.
Be Real has a distinct
Distinct
voice. You
voice,
knew his
yep.
voice.
Yep. Because he bust out in a song. He said, "Don't miss out with your passing. You're missing the hula up the funky
up
Buddha."
the funky Buddha.
You like, yo, this dude voice is crazy, bro.
And then when you hear him talk, it's a whole different voice.
And then my man come in, who I could just kill a man. And you like, yo, this is fire right here. Yo,
That was Cube, wasn't it? It wasn't Ice Cube that did that.
No, that's the
that's
other
not-
dude.
no,
What's his
No,
name?
I'm
Yeah.
talking about he produced
No.
the song. Didn't Cube produce that? I thought
Nah,
Cube produced
nah,
that. He had
no,
nothing to
no.
do with it.
No.
Nah,
Send Dog.
that's oh jeez, I forgot his name. So it's Be Real,
Muggs?
Be
and
real,
Muggs is Muggs.
Muggs produced it in Sen
Muggs is
Dog.
Muggs is
So,
underrated, by the way, for the
yeah.
record. Very,
very,
very
very.
underrated.
Um, so from what I gather, I think you guys like the R&B that's on the album, and maybe
I mean,
not
yeah.
totally the hip hop.
No,
Is
no.
that- is
Some of
that-
the hip hop joints are cool on the album too. I don't necessarily think if it follows the pattern of like what's going on to. So like Uptown Anthem by Naughty by Nature is on it, and that's
Yeah.
a
That's
dope track.
fire. That's
That's
fire.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I
And
just
then
don't know.
Kane, enough respect due.
Fire.
Oh, I forgot. It's
Kane.
going down is on this EPMDs. It's going down
EPMD
is
is
on
going
this
down,
too.
yeah.
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 Salt and Pepper's on there.
Yeah, that's
I like-
Teddy
I like-
Riley's
is
on there.
Yeah,
I think
that's
my
Teddy
favorite
Riley.
song though, outside of Know the Ledge, is my bad. Is It Good to You? I like that.
That-
That's my
yeah.
joint.
Teddy Riley. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Sammy Lucas.
I'm still, I love the pump it up. I love that little in the DJ scene and they scratching.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
because that to me is all original. That's what I'm saying. Like just that scene alone made me go out and buy the soundtrack because they even had that, if I remember, on the soundtrack. Just them playing, and I'm like, that's what hip hop was like.
Yeah, that's
Well-
of the essence.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
that's
that was-
Harlem. That's Harlem World, right? That's
Yeah.
that's an homage to Harlem World. That
Yeah.
and Funky. Anytime you hear that and Funky Sensation, that's an homage to Harlem, USA.
That's
Well,
what
I'm
I'm
gonna tell
saying,
you
and I love that.
what caught me off guard when I looked at the soundtrack when I was going through it was when you had brand new heavies. That's back when they had Nadina Davenport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had the brand new heavies on there, and that they were at a point in time in the 90s in that era that acid jazz. It was
Yeah.
acid jazz with the hip hop and everything. They played a really big part coming over. I mean, when they had Nadina Davenport, then when she left, breaking in Saida Garrett to sing for them as well.
Yeah. You know they got one of the top selling songs of all time, right?
Yeah,
Brand New
we talked
Heavies
about that.
have a song called Jump and Move. And it's anytime you see an animated movie, it's in that. It's the song that goes jump and move and jump and move and jump and move and
yeah.
stop. That's the Brand New
Oh,
Heavies.
okay.
Yeah,
That's the
that was
Brand New
on.
Heavies. That's
Madagascar. They played it a lot in Madagascar.
yeah, man. That I think that I don't know exactly how many records it sold, but when
But it
I
sold a
found
lot.
out it was the Brand New Heavies, I was like, the Brand New Heavies.
Because you would think it would have been Pharrell's Happy, but after the way
Yeah.
that blew up, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
I'm gonna say this about the Juice soundtrack. When I first heard it, I gave it an 8. Now that I hear it, I don't think it holds up well. I don't think it's a Purple Rain. So anything from 8 and above is out of the question. I don't think it's the Boomerang soundtrack. It's not the Waiting to Excel soundtrack. You know what I'm saying? So it
That
can't
it all
be,
soundtrack.
yeah, set it a fantastic soundtrack, BT, in my mind, right? So it can't be in that 6 and above range, but I respect a lot of songs on there though, right? Because think about it, when you start talking about in that 9 or 10 range, you're talking about Purple Rain, Forrest Gump, you know what I'm saying? Movies like that. Easy Rider for those old school cats that remember get your motor running and all of that and American Woman and those type songs, right? But so I would say Juice is and this is no disrespect, right? It's just that the standard for soundtracks is set so high, and then there are some soundtracks that are just so terrible that the wide-ranging thing kind of puts me in a space where I have to give it somewhere between 4.5 and 4.75 on the mere fact that I don't even want to put it in the conversation with Waiting to Excel or Purple Rain or Forrest Gump or Easy Rider or for that matter,
Who's the man?
oh jeez. I almost threw up in my mouth just now. certain soundtracks, man, when you hear them, they're iconic, and you don't want to even have certain things even in the same. You know what I'm saying?
Stratosphere.
Bad
Yeah.
Boy soundtrack. That was the only song that was good. Was the main song that they played. Oh mercy, mercy, mercy. But then the whole soundtrack, you're like,
The Diana King, yeah.
yeah. And then you just sitting there like, okay, I thought this would be a good soundtrack, but apparently it's really not.
Right.
Well, man, I know you talking about soundtracks and everything. I just want to ask your Freezer, what you think about the Love Jones soundtrack?
I
Classic.
like it.
That's
To me, it's a great listening soundtrack, but is it iconic? No. Like, can you put on the Love Jones soundtrack, the album, and just play it? Man, for sure. Is it Purple Rain though? Nah.
Yeah,
Purple
but
Rain.
you know, Purple Rain's the cheat code though.
Yeah.
That ain't even a soundtrack, man.
Yeah,
I like what he did there. That's a cheat code.
Yeah, it is because that album, that soundtrack or that was really pushed the movie because we know it wasn't
Right.
a great actor.
Yeah. That's the flip thing right there. So
Yeah.
that's like I'm making an album and I want to make a movie. It's like the movie is the soundtrack for the album.
For the album, yeah.
It was like a music videos, but it was all in one movie. Like,
Right.
But it served the purpose of a soundtrack
Yes.
though, because the
Yes,
songs
it
were
did.
in the movie.
Which
You know,
made it dope. That's why Purple Rain, even though you might say the acting and it is what it is,
Wasn't
the
good. Yeah.
movie is iconic.
Right.
to me.
Because the way he scored it, because certain things. Remember, he and Apolloni were on when he was put on the bike and they went for a ride, and that "Take Me With You" is playing that song.
That's my joint, bro.
"Take Me With You," and then "Beautiful Ones" is that's
my joint.
That's
bro.
my that's my cut.
I don't care. I Will Die For You will always be my
That
joint,
was
man. The way
at
he
the
broke
end
it
of the
down,
movie.
woo.
And you know why? I Will Die For You is such a powerful song? Because it's played during a moment of reckoning. See, if Juice had a moment of reckoning, then we would be having a totally different conversation.
But you know what, I'm glad you said that because I'm glad you said because I was trying to say it was missing. What was the piece that was missing? And you hit it right there. It was a few other things, but I think the main thing was there was never a moment of reckoning to bring it in. It was just, okay, we're gonna rock. It was we need to get paid. So we're gonna get our juice. We're gonna go rob this cat. He been hit up before, blah, 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 be easy, quick fix, and then everything, and then the whole situation shits the bed, and he murks. He you got Bishop murking everybody, but it was never a reckoning to it. It was just going off. Now he went off the deep end, like I said, and when he did, he played the hell out that role of Bishop, because I think his role of Bishop was actually him in his. I mean, you seen in his interviews, he would have, rest in peace. He actually had Bishop moments in his interviews,
and then you can see Bishop on his face.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so here's the other thing too. The thing why this movie needed a faux villain is because even though Bishop was the enemy from within, he was the accidental killer. Like everybody that he killed or attempted to kill in the movie, it looked clumsy. In the store, in the store, the gun goes up, bam, straight through the dude underneath the dude. Everybody like, what?
Man,
in the alley with Raheem, Raheem, the tussle over the gun go off, and he like, and then he like, yeah, I did that, right? And then Radamez, when they were in the alley, that should have been the moment of reckoning where you either admit you're a sociopath and do your sociopath monologue, right? Or throw the gun in the trash, something. But he accidentally blasted on Radamez. Because when you saw Radamez, he looked surprised. He was surprised at the gun, and Pac shot him and jumped back. So Pac ultimately in this movie looked like the replacement killer. He didn't look like the dude that intended to be this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Accidental murderer.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Actually,
y'all
you know what?
haters.
You know what? It
What
looked
do you
like.
mean there's
You
no
remember?
no reckoning? When he
Because
said Riverside mother,
up until that part, every time he shot someone, he had a surprised look on his face, like
Mhm.
he
But
was like, "Oh
DSJ,
my god!"
he said that after that man was on the ground.
Yeah,
He didn't
he
look
didn't
that
say it
man.
to look him in
He
the
didn't
face.
look
Yeah.
that man in his. He didn't look that man in his pupils and knew that he was going to murder him. Right?
You know, I would say this,
I
Freeze,
think
fellas.
I think we lost them.
Yeah.
Pow.
Well,
Yeah.
Riverside mother,
well, I
nothing
was gonna
like
say,
it.
you remember how old boy was changed? You seen Christine? You remember how the geeky cat started transforming over time because the
Yeah,
car
right,
gave him power?
right.
It's
Yeah.
basically what it was. The car gave him power. He went from being Bishop, the
He
wannabe
went from
hard
being
joke,
Roland to
yeah,
Bishop.
to Bishop, yeah.
Yeah. Because remember when Raheem mom saw it, she's like, "Hey, Roland. Oh, I remember you." Right. And Raheem's sister called him that too. I was like, "Dang,
Yeah,
that's his first name? I didn't know that." I
Roland. Yeah,
missed
he
it when
went
I
from Roland
the
to
first
Bishop.
19 times I saw the movie. I missed that part. So yeah.
He said the first 19 times. It was
Yeah,
that
man.
boring.
As
Bro,
soon as he
they,
got the gun, he started talking about, you got to get the ground beneath your feet, partner. Get the wind behind your back and go out in the blaze if you have to. Otherwise, you ain't shit.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
come
yeah,
on, bro.
and we like, it was,
It's like liquid courage, but it's metal courage, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah,
My roommate used to play that movie to death, man. But
or
yeah, man.
Juice.
Yeah, but
But damn.
yeah, it was bro. It was the 90s, bro. Dudes, we ain't had nothing to
Yeah.
do. It was either that or Super Nintendo.
Well, yeah,
But
now
anyway,
it's like a cat I had in the barracks. He played Scar. We called him Scarface. You go to his room, he's sitting up. You go to his room, he opened the door, he's sitting up there with some shower shoes and tighty whities, watching Scarface smoking a cigar.
smoking a cigar and got a Scarface poster. Remember the black and white Scarface poster?
Yeah,
Sitting
Yeah,
in the
got a
chair like
Scarface poster on the
Scarface.
wall. Yeah, and I was gonna put a Scarface poster back here. I had two posters, one on both on Amazon. Y'all remember that cartoon Thundercats?
oh
Yep.
Of
man, yeah.
course,
Anybody remember that? So I had
never heard of it.
posted, and they were gonna charge me, bro. They were gonna charge me $37 and then like $9 to deliver it.
But
I was like,
Thundercats
y'all
poster?
can keep it. Y'all can keep it, bro. I ain't. And then
It's
I
the
thought about
principle at that point.
yeah, and then I thought about the Scarface poster, and I was like, what can be more cliche than a Scarface poster?
So we had one. I had a roommate
Silver
that had a
Hawks.
spot.
Silver
We had a big Scarface poster in the
Silverhawks.
house.
I'm
Oh
sorry,
yeah,
say that again.
Silverhawks. No, when I had a roommate, me and we were renting a house, and the living room, you had all Scarface pictures and stuff up in there. Had them framed up and everything in the living room.
Wow.
Had the one big one, like he actually got one from the theater, that the long ones they used to have in the theater. So we had that on the one wall.
Right.
So
Right. Yo, but before I get out of here, man, I just want to ask y'all one thing. First of all, I want to thank everybody for rocking with me. I find these conversations fascinating that saying we can all bring our own opinions to the table and then hear somebody else and then recalibrate what we thought we saw based on feedback we get from others and then really chop it up about how things really are. I find that fascinating. Also thank you for your time. I think breaking stuff down like this is necessary. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of stuff on the internet and all of it ain't good.
yeah, that's true.
And also, before we get out of here, just really quick, did the music in this movie tell the story of the movie, or was it just was the movie? I mean, I'm sorry, was the
Music filler.
group of music, the soundtrack and other music, just a sign of the times to remind you where you were, or to set the background, right? Does it tell the story or does it set the background?
It set the background. They don't tell the story.
Yeah.
My
I
opinion.
don't think it tells a story.
Okay.
Yeah, it just reminds you of where you like that time period. It like at least with Love Jones, that set the tone, that got you in the right mood. But this was just more of a hey, remember this time. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that's the reason why Reebok pumps and all that stuff was in the movie to so there won't be any weird red herrings hanging around, like, you know what I'm saying, like the New Edition movie and people got did the Salt and Pepper movie and people got on 4-ball jackets. Remember that? I think it was the Salt and Pepper movie. They in a no, it was I don't even know why they did a New Edition movie, but anyway, so the New Edition movie, a dude is in Bobby Brown's room, such and such, where they have the baby, and a dude is in there with a 4-ball jacket. And so all my homeboys at work was like, what, but was that a half price 8-ball jacket? who was wearing Soulfinger? Who was wearing 4-ball jackets?
I don't know. Yeah, it's
There's a 4-ball jacket?
Bro. No,
I know football. Hey, so that's like the cats getting those imitation Jordans. Talking about who's that coming off the pick and roll? Who's that coming off the pick and roll?
All right, so I'm just gonna say this to Dre, and then I'm gonna get out of here. Dre, New Edition is wildly, grossly overrated, bro. They are so overrated.
I agree.
They are so overrated that it's criminal, right?
Don't fall for the trap, Trey.
Bro, I just saw Bobby Brown's performance this year, and DSA, I saw the Bobby Brown one, right? With Bobby Brown
in a yellow jacket.
Yeah, he all into it, and this is what he sound like, right? This Bobby Brown, Mr. Telephone Man, is something wrong with my line?
He ain't in his prime no more, man. His prime was damn near 40 years ago.
It's what happens when you don't take care of yourself, man. Bobby been done. He been
He was
done.
done before he went single. I kept telling everybody.
Bro.
First 2 albums, all of that was Ricky's work, man. Ricky's first album was his really third album. He did all the writing. That group did not stand on one leg without him. And man, you don't understand. Everybody in my family, New Edition. I love Bobby. Bobby can't sing worth crap. Everybody forget. Bobby used to be scared in the crowded room. How
You mean
gonna
Ralph? Because
Yeah, I think you
Ralph,
said
Ralph,
Ralph. Yeah.
Ralph. It was Ralph. Ralph did all the writing, and man, Bobby could not sing. Remember when he was a little kid, he couldn't even go out stage and perform on a talent show. He got scared. They had to go backstage and give him courage.
But stage presence and charisma is a thing you got to account for.
Bro,
He had it all, but he didn't have the
circles around
talent.
them dudes, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Boys, the men are saying.
Boys, and that's another thing. Look at how they did Boys to Men. Freaking the manager did the same thing that happened in New Edition to them. I'm like, come on, man. How you gonna make?
I mean, to be absolutely honest, if you're in a group or an artist of that era, you probably got robbed.
Everybody got robbed. Look at Blue Magic.
Same thing with athletes, bro.
Like,
Exactly.
they all got robbed, man.
Yeah.
Blue Magic
And
got robbed
if
of
they
a
didn't
rock
get
show.
robbed by their management, they got robbed by their accountants.
Yeah.
Look
They were
at the
getting run.
Blue
They were
Magic.
getting run up in back in the days. They were getting run up left and right.
Yep.
Hey,
Blue
so-
Magic was my group.
Let me ask Soulfinger this before I go, man. We got stuff on the stove, man. I gotta get out of here. But Soulfinger, I'm asking you honestly. I want to pin you down and ask you this question, in hopes that you will give the answer that will send this conversation, that will put the bow on this conversation. In your opinion, right? And I promise, when you say your answer, I ain't gonna say nothing else, man. I'll get out of here. In your opinion, who is the greatest singing group of all time?
Greatest singing group of all time.
Soulfinger. We got yeah. In your opinion,
Damn, he gonna need time.
It's LTD.
Nah, I'm gonna say, Color Me Bad.
My man, yes.
I knew you was gonna.
Randy.
Sexual Chocolate.
Sexual Chocolate.
Randy Watson.
Randy Watson.
Randy. Watson.
Sexy chocolate.
Yeah.
My inspiration.
That's a better ending than freaking Juice.
DSJ and DSJ, you know what I was gonna say? I was gonna add a group to the conversation, right? And it's the reason why I'm asking is because I know we be busy and all that stuff with stuff. But I told DSJ the other day that when I hear him, he reminds me of a mix of Kenny Lattimore and Jesse Powell. Right?
You talking about DS? You know what? I never thought of that, but yeah, I can hear that.
Yeah,
DSJ is so trash.
Right,
Just like the Juice
I
movie.
hear that, Playboy.
Right, but the thing is Jesse Powell sounds just like the lead singer from The Enchantments. If you ever heard the song called Gloria, anybody ever heard the song Gloria by The Enchantments?
Yep.
He sounds just like Jesse Powell, or Jesse Powell sounds just like him.
Yeah,
And I think
I'm telling you though, DSJ can blow, but I'm waiting for him to do this cut called "You Got the Juice."
Yeah.
Yo,
I wanted DSJ to redo Pass the Dutchie. That's what I wanted, the R&B version of Pass the Dutchie.
Black Street with Dave Hollister.
It's coming. Upon request, it's coming.
All right,
You want
everybody.
Dave Hollister? Y'all have a good one.
I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you, everybody, for
Free.
rocking with us.
Good night.
Skullfinger, do you have another movie, man?